Yeah.
Thank you for coming to the Lisle Township. Right.
Yeah, there's
Remain
where it goes.
members.
Are we on Zoom?
Okay, in Zoom land. Thank you, Pamela.
Are we on Zoom as well?
Yes, we
Not for
are.
the screen time?
And it's coming up.
Jump it on.
No, it's better actually.
use it.
Okay. Okay, so I'm calling this meeting to order, and can we have a roll call, Clerk Howitz?
Sure, Supervisor Hewitt. Here. Trustee Robinson.
Here.
Trustee Page.
Here.
Trustee McGovern.
Here.
Trustee Geis.
Present.
Assessor Trowbridge. Commissioner Young.
Here.
Can we have a pledge of allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the
flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And then we have the accountant's report,
Public.
public comment. So we can start in person if anybody is going around in a circle. Does anybody in the front row have any public comments?
I do.
Ms. Young?
And I would like to see any meetings for the township to be on the calendar. I was told that it's on the website, but I think people go to the calendar to see what's going on. And since you put Village of Lisle and all sorts of other meetings on there, I think it's important to have the township meetings.
Thank you. And
Thank you.
they're on the calendar here.
Not consistent.
Yes, they are. Here, does anybody else in the front row have anything?
Well.
Okay, back row.
I do.
Okay,
Lisa Rose. I would like to express my deep concern regarding last week's transportation forum involving community members who came to the meeting under the impression that the board was going to discontinue the transportation system. In person and online, every comment included a plea that the program not be taken away, some in tears. Not only was this information incorrect, but it had been spread throughout the community, especially to individuals using the transportation system, causing them emotional distress. When members of the board asked the audience where they had heard this rumor, one member proceeded to attack a board member, calling her a liar based on information it was discovered given to them by the supervisor. Township government is designed so that the community members can speak directly with people who are making the decisions, the trustees. This is part of their job. If you hear a rumor that the transportation system is being shut down, or call or email a trustee. They could have shut down this rumor, ease your mind, and put out a public notice that this rumor was false. We could have prevented the melee that ensued last week. Secondly, as a former employee who was directly involved with the administration of payroll and the interpretation of the employee handbook, the resolution that passed in December offering employees 12 days PTO after 1 year employment seems to be a misrepresentation of the intent of the trustees that asked for it. The handbook lists sick days, personal days, bereavement time, and leave of absence time, vacation time, which upon termination is paid out to the employees on the last paycheck. According to the new resolution, vacation time is now called PTO, and if it isn't used prior to termination is lost. PTO can be used for any of those categories I listed before, but the handbook didn't change any of those criteria, just vacation time. Also, if the company handbook meets the criteria for time off, it supersedes the state mandated PTO. I request that the trustees ask to change the PTO back to vacation time if that indeed was their intent. Second, we were all hired as non-exempt employees being paid hourly. As of May 23rd, 2023, we found out by email that the supervisor had changed several people to exempt status, and we're not given clear information as to what that meant. We were told that nothing changed for us. We still have probation of 6 months, after which we received 5 days, and after our first anniversary, we received another 5 days. Now both the lawyer and administrator are questioning our exempt status and the way time off was handled last year. The handbook states that exempt employees have a year of probation, after which they receive 5 days. Finally, the employee handbook states that there will be an exit interview to allow the employee to share opinions on ways to improve the township workplace. This never occurred for me or for any of the other employees that left voluntarily. Now that there is an administrator, maybe this can happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Um,
Yeah, just briefly, the transportation firm was really good information that was shared. And it would have been good to get that second vehicle ready in case the existing vehicle had a problem like it did with the door. It would have been that good if it was already sitting there. So it broke and had to be in the shop. So it was very informative.
is there another public comment?
Yeah, regarding the uproar at the end, it felt like, the board wanted to conduct then and there an ad hoc investigation as to where this alleged rumor came from. As far as the supervisor is concerned, I assure you, I did not hear it from her. Her meeting announcement, I think, is still on Facebook, and you can check her language out there. My point is not to defend her. My point is that, you know, some people had the impression that it was at risk. The appropriate thing to do, it seemed to me, would be to simply reassure them that that was not the case. Watch what we do going forward. It is our intention to preserve the program. The young man who was sitting next to me, he had never been, as far as I know, at a board meeting before. So I think his reaction was fairly, what's the word I'm looking for? Spontaneous. He felt like he was being lectured to by the demands to say, where did you learn this? Where did you learn this? And he was then told, oh, no, you're not being lectured. But that was his reaction to it. So that's all I have to say about it.
Thank you. Is there anything that the person in the hallway wishes
Do you want to
to?
say anything? No. Supervisor Hewitt, in the recent bid opening, you again demonstrated you do not have the capability or understanding how a township government is supposed to work. Additional details about this topic will be discussed under a separate board item. At last month's meeting, I outlined the reasons I thought you should resign. They included a vote of no confidence in August of 23, the financial mismanagement that continues to this day, including incurring $234,000 of legal and accounting fees since the beginning of the last fiscal year. Chasing away all full-time staff that was on the payroll when you took office. You even chased away one of your former trustee running mates, who was bookkeeper, because of a hostile work environment. As most residents know, November 1st, 2023, you were arrested for a DUI. You drove away from an event that was attended by many DuPage County Township officials. Several of them suggested you find alternative transportation, but you left, driving away, screaming into your phone. The video of the arrest shows that you can hardly stand. Yet in that state, you got behind the wheel of a car and drove and put everybody on the roads that you traveled at risk for serious injury or death. Yet for all the embarrassment you brought to Lisle Township, its residents, its elected officials, even the state township officials throughout the state, you have shown no degree of remorse whatsoever for those actions or for any of your ineptitude in the management of the township. I again ask you to resign.
Was that a public comment?
It was.
Okay,
In this
any other,
context, we are the.
any
public
other-
and you are public. But I will show myself out. I'm speaking out of turn. You have never had a problem getting your opinion across.
Please leave. Thank you.
any other public comments?
I have public comment. As a taxpayer, I'm entitled to have public comment. Yes, we are elected officials, and in this capacity, we're before you. But we also are taxpayers, and we do have the opportunity to share public comment.
So it was interesting that the perspective was that we should have just told the people that they were misinformed and what the truth is. But that, it didn't end there. I was accused, I was personally attacked, my integrity was attacked. I have very little left in my life that I'm holding on to a small business that I'm fighting to keep. And I have very little left other than my word and my integrity. And so I took it very personally to be called a liar by my constituents. Because they were under that belief because of misinformation from the supervisor, who also said that I had told a mistruth. That I was lying too, because apparently in December I had said I wanted to cancel the senior transportation program. What's really great about the fact that technology, we've documented our meetings and saved them, is that there's a video clip that will show you that I actually said the exact opposite. And you know, last week, I do want to apologize to my constituents and my fellow board members. Last Thursday, I did get heated, but you know what? I'm a human being. I bleed red, my heart hurts, and I get embarrassed just like each one of you. And being an elected official doesn't change that. That doesn't make me a superwoman. It doesn't take away the fact that I have feelings. And so when I get called a liar in front of everyone in a situation that was so grossly untrue, and I watched this poor family come forward, so concerned, a husband with terminal cancer, wheelchair bound, who was afraid of losing his transportation services to get him to medical care and treatment because they were led to believe that I wanted to cancel the senior transportation program. At what point are the people who are continuing to stand behind the supervisor going to see truth to light? Tell me what it takes, because I really don't understand what it takes. I was lied upon and grossly attacked in that meeting, but when I spoke up for myself, I shouldn't raise my voice. I'm a passionate person. My voice projects. I apologize again to my board and my constituents for any discomfort that you felt, but my truth is my truth. And I'm sorry, Clerk Powers, do you have the video clip?
I thought we were going to ask, I thought you were gonna ask her to play it.
Okay,
December 13th.
please go to the December 13th meeting, minute 212. No, please go there.
You can.
So we are in
Please go there.
public comment.
Yes, and I'm in my
And we are
public
going
comment
to
time.
finish our public comment, and there is an agenda item on number. Thank you. Agenda number 18. Okay, any other public comment in the room? Online, is
Well,
there
do
any
you-
other?
I'll do a public comment for you to play the tape.
That's not
December
on that's
13th.
not a public comment. That is a video that.
We're
is
asking you to play
going
the
to
tape,
be-
Supervisor Hewitt. Are you-
This is not a
I'll
part of
play it.
public
I'll play
comment.
it. I'll play it. It's no problem.
You finished your
You
public
have-
comment.
Can I have your 3 minutes?
Yes, you can have
You
mine.
could have.
Yeah, I'm curious. I'd like to keep this conversation in one place so we can resolve.
I said the exact opposite. And I'm still waiting for my apology for last month's meeting where you said I told a story over and over again, which implied I was lying then as well. And I went back and found the email where you agreed to meet me at a specific time. And you were now, no, is that surprising to you? Because I can pull that email up as well.
Oh, we can talk about we really need to go on to public comment,
I'm
and
going
that's
to
a
the video.
different
It's
piece.
not a problem. I'll find it. I'm sorry. I thought I had it queued up. I apologize for that.
Okay, Ross, is that a part of public comment? She's doing it twice, going to her own public comment twice. Is that a part of?
I
the rules?
requested to hear the video in my public comment.
If the board wants to do this now, it is on the agenda to talk about it, but this.
Do you want to play the video?
The director building here. You know what? You just won't play it on the screen for everyone? Are you refusing to do that?
It's not a part of public comment.
It's my public comment.
Okay, so again, you've already had your time. Okay,
It could be
Is
my
there-
public comment, like I said, if she would like to play the tape, I would like you to play the tape.
We have
Here's the
a
challenge is everyone who's
2-hour
sitting here may not be here.
segment of
Yes, but
time
this-
in which we
But
have an
these people
attorney
may not be
present.
here later, and they need to hear the truth, because they don't even, I had people, I went up to them and said, how is it that you were under the belief that I said this? Well, she said you said it. I said, you didn't watch the video for your own good? No, she told us,
You've had your
abused-
time,
You
trustee
abuse,
Geis.
you abuse your position in the Democratic Party in Lisle Township. To get people to believe this. Yeah. I'm just
If
gonna
the
keep
board
going,
wants to
so
vote.
I want you to play it.
Sorry, can I make a motion to move up item number 18?
Thank you.
Okay.
And we can have this tape, can have this discussion as part of 18.
Second.
We haven't finished public comment.
Okay.
We need to finish public comment. Is that correct?
I would suggest just seeing if there's any other public comment, then you can just go to.
Great, thank you.
How's that sound?
Great, thank you.
Is there any other public comment online? You can raise your hand in person or with your digital hand. I don't see any hands raised. There are 2 responses on public comment online. Here is that, if you wish to if you could read that, please.
Sure. The first one is from Yamanaka. Good evening, I'm Yoshi Yamanaka, reporting on behalf of the Lisle Township Community Mental Health Board. Our 708 board is gratified that Christine Carlson and Renee Cozier, excuse me for killing everyone's name, have been appointed to our mental health board. They enrich our board with the breadth and depth of their real world experiences. 708 board member Gina Sharp, who is president and CEO of Linden Oaks Behavioral Health, announced that out of 1,800 hospitals nationwide, Linden Oaks was one of 6 hospitals to receive the award for outstanding nursing quality from the American Nurses Association. Linden Oaks is the first psychiatric hospital in Illinois and the Midwest to receive that commendation. Congratulations to Gina Sharp and her staff. On January 31st, we launched our online portal for accepting grant applications. That portal was demonstrated to NAMI and about 24 other behavioral health agencies attending the event either in person or via Zoom. Our 708 board will be accepting applications until March 25th, after which we will be interviewing the top candidates and dispersing over $850,000 in grants. The 708 board will meet on February 28th to consider the Finance Committee's recommended budget for fiscal year April 2024 through March 2025. Our budget will be presented to the township on March 1st. All in all, it feels wonderful to be getting down to our basic take. Okay, that was Yosh Yamanaka. And Jerry Galloway has a public comment as well. I'd like to thank the board this evening for your assurances last week that you won't be cutting the township transportation program. I understand that there have been some hiccups with its implementation, but that's what happens in life, and I'm certain that by working together, you will get through them. Happy Valentine's Day, Jerry Galloway.
Oh, nice.
Okay, and let me remind everyone that in the November 3rd section of the meeting, there was a video as well as you all saying that senior services and services would be not cut. Right after you had fired the director of senior services in the middle of Medicare enrollment. So senior services were cut after you had all said that it was. So going back to the,
Yeah, that's not legal. Legal?
I'm not rebutting it. I'm talking about the transportation program. After it had been, half the staff had been not allowed to either
Point of
to be
order.
fired.
Point of order.
And so they,
You
half
have to
the
stop
program
talking. I
has
said
already
point of
been
order.
cut.
You have to. stop
We're in
talking.
the transportation.
Point of
No.
order.
No, that's not true. I'm actually able to
Ross,
introduce the transportation
so-
program.
I think trustee Robinson's motion should be considered about amending the agenda. That should be just, renew the motion second, just voice vote, and then open discussion as to this topic.
Okay, discussion on the Lisle Township Transportation Forum. We have one vote,
Voice vote.
Yeah, or not
And
roll call,
trustee-
just votes. Yeah.
Yes.
Robinson and trustee Page have made the motions to amend the agenda. And then, Clerk Polowitz, do you want to take a roll call vote?
Just all
I
in
think
favor.
they want a voice vote, so all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That's
Okay, discussion on the Lisle Township Transportation Forum held on February 8th, in which we had a lot of people that were concerned after realizing that, again, half the staff were either fired or not allowed to be hired. Understanding that the cost and what have you not of the budget of the vehicles that we have currently and the staff currently were at stake. Because again, they had already, most
Why were
people
they
had
at
already seen, because we're going through a budget time. And during the last budget discussions on this program, there was a whole lot of discussion as to, would we keep the PACE program? Would we, again, would we be able to have expanded services in a time when the transportation service that is required for consistent care needs to have, and was originally funded with 2 staff members that were drivers, 2 full-time drivers with 2 vehicles. There is a need for redundancy because vehicles can go into the shop. They have maintenance requirements, and our program has come to a halt for an extended amount of time last month due to weather issue that made the vehicle undrivable, and with no options. Again, the community
11
had to
options.
deal with. No, there were
11 other transportation options. You educated us on that last week.
for paratransit, and just to
were
remind
4.
you, for paratransit, the options
There's 4
that
for Pura.
existed, there's 4.
Yes,
And there's a lot of people that don't believe that the options for
it was 11 days and there are 4 options. On top of that, in order to have the second vehicle, we have to have a
here
a
are the
driver.
4 options that we have. There's PACE, Ride DuPage, Tabor Hills,
That's 4.
New Era, Disabled on the Go. They're all very much more expensive and prohibitive for a lot of people.
But they're options.
They are options that people don't believe are that they can
That's-
actually
that's-
use.
They're,
So again, they are options that are not usable, or that
They're not
have a very
usable?
different quality of service.
do those
So
companies
those are the
know that
4.
their options are not usable?
For certain
That
clients
the
that they are,
supervisor of Lisle Township has said they're not usable?
I didn't say that they were not usable, but
Well, you
if you
did.
have costs as an issue, if you are the among the most cost conscious people and you need to go to your doctors, for example, for dialysis in 6 different separate trips, then cost is gonna be a serious
We
problem.
implemented this program a year ago.
So
What did we
again,
do
we
before that?
we have in our rules, you have to raise your hand, and
That's
we
over
have a
3
time
minutes.
of
But you
which
keep
you can.
talking.
I introduced the thing and you keep
Well, it's
interrupting
over 3
me.
minutes.
Okay, so again, the discussion, does anybody have any more that they wish to discuss about this transportation forum that was well received? Highway Commissioner Young, sure, 212, is that where you want to start? December 13th?
Yes.
Please. Show us everything. Okay, and that's the first, trustee Page, is there a second? Second from trustee Geist, any other discussion? And Yosh is in California right now, that's why he's not able to be with us. Okay, then, roll call vote, please.
Trustee Page?
Yes.
Trustee Geist?
Yes.
Trustee McGovern?
Yes.
Trustee Robinson?
Yes.
Trustee Hewitt?
Yes. Okay, the letter has been passed.
Did you want me to call? I have like an hour drive, so do
Sure.
you want me to call in?
Thank you.
I'm on my way home. It's not like I'm gonna be doing anything.
Thank you. Much appreciated.
Right. Yeah, it's perfect too. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. if you-
Thank you, Liz. Thank you, Liz. Shay.
I just want to thank everybody for allowing me to appear here today on behalf of the board, and thank you so much for your phone call. I appreciate it very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Wright. Okay, then next we have the number 17, discussion and possible action on fair transit local share agreement. This is a contract that came from ACE. This is boilerplate language. There's nothing in here that we can change. This is what gives people 24/7, seniors and the disabled 24/7, the ability to have rides in DuPage with PACE. And it is also partially subsidized through Naperville, the city, through a grant that has, that we've been paying down. And as you can see, there's a spreadsheet that shows the amount of the distribution. So it is a heavily subsidized situation. We only pay per mile for the people that are in our township.
We either approve the
Trustee
agreement,
Guy- or Trustee McGovern.
what is the action, I mean, what,
If we approve it, then people continue to have PACE ride to page services. If we do not approve it, then all of a sudden, the people that count on this, the people that need a ride to work, the seniors and the disabled, do not have that service anymore.
I would just like some clarification on whether or not. If
This
when we have
comes up
PACE,
every year.
then that allows us to have our van too, that van was purchased through the PACE.
It's not purchased, it's leased for $100 a month, which is a bargain rate.
And what else is that?
So that covers that
Okay.
as well. If this isn't done, then all of that goes away.
Anybody's even suggesting that, we're just trying to.
No, I
don't remember this coming up for renewal last year. I don't remember.
It comes up every year.
I'm the only one who forgot, I apologize, but I didn't remember us having to do this a year ago, so. No one is looking to alter services to our community, we don't need to go there. No one is looking to alter services.
Yes, you need a motion to approve this.
It was for clarification. So, I'm sorry.
Just for clarification.
And then it goes on and on about, again, we're trying to keep the, this
You
is not,
pinpointed me in that meeting.
this
You
is
directly
not,
looked at me and said, I was the one who wanted to cut the program. You pinpointed me right after John Brubaker called me a liar when I said I did not say that. Supervisor Hewitt, I'll accept your apology now. Because you've never apologized for anything else you've done. It would be amazing if this would,
we can
this is your
listen
moment.
on, we can
This is
listen
your
on,
moment,
let's
because
listen on.
There been any
Go ahead.
improvement in the services,
People not being left behind, like what accountability do they have? In making sure those services that we're paying for. Yeah, we watched it. So we can say. I asked to hold PACE accountable. I asked to join a meeting the next time you met with them, which I was not. Position of transportation, deficits, but. PACE is putting people in difficult positions. Yeah. And how are we holding them accountable to? Supervisor Hewitt, we've watched this video. We do not need to continue
so
watching it. We've all
to be
watched
clear,
it.
they are enough.
And the reason why I'm asking again for us to continue watching it is because it was very difficult for you all to get to this vote of keeping the very bare minimal of pace right.
No, we from the
Sure.
beginning said we supported it. I said, we don't want to leave people abandoned. I said that clearly.
Okay, you
I'll
all were
accept your
saying
apology
at the
now.
exact same time
But
that you
the
were
bottom
trying
line is-
to figure out a way to, again,
Hold
hold
PACE
them
accountable.
accountable.
PACE accountable for the mistakes they've made leaving senior citizens out in the cold. And I asked if I could join a meeting with you the next time you met with them. How are you translating my concerns of PACE leaving people out in the cold as me saying I want to cancel the Lisle Township Senior Transportation Program?
Because in the
It
budget
doesn't make
discussions,
sense.
yes, it does.
It doesn't make sense, Supervisor Hewitt. It doesn't make sense. And I'm expecting a public apology in this conversation.
Again,
I just-
you all, again, and
every-
here, let me explain if you
No,
want.
I know, no circles. I'm done with the circles, okay? You're either gonna
Well-
apologize or you're not gonna apologize. Are you going to apologize for giving that misinformation and upsetting those families and all their friends who came upset, afraid that was pushing to cancel something that I never said I was interested in canceling? In fact, I was advocating for it to continue and advocating to go to the table and help to fight, to not fight, but find resolution with PACE on why they were handling people that way. It's yes or no. Either you're going to apologize for giving out misinformation or you're not.
Are you going to apologize for canceling the senior service that we had
Actually,
in the
you
middle of
spoke
Medicare
already,
enrollment?
Diane.
And
Everyone
again-
else needs to speak first.
What is that? You lied.
That's
Not-
not true. After you all, again,
you
fired
spend
the
so much
person, the
money.
director
No,
in
you didn't.
senior services.
You hired them when we told you not to hire them. You hired them when each of us sent you an email saying, do not hire them. You did it anyway. We knew we had a budget problem. We hoped that we could make it work, but the spend on accounting and legal was so exorbitant, we could not continue to keep them. Tell the whole truth. Either you're going to
Again,
apologize or you're not. Don't make
The
Point of
excuses.
order.
I want to
Employee
You said in my
handbook
life.
required
Point of
actually
order.
me to be
Doesn't
able
she
to
have
hire and
to
fire.
only say
And
point
were
of
we
order?
out of budget for the personnel? No. Okay,
No, I
trustee
think
Page.
point of order. You have to stop when if someone says point of order. My
What's-
point of order is, and I'm not, great with this, but Robert's Rules of Order says that everyone should have a chance to speak one time and then you could go around again. So you cannot keep interjecting, nor can anybody else.
Point
I,
of order,
I'd really.
point of order. Your rules are.
I don't need to. I don't need
Out
to.
of order.
If there's-
So
You have your own rules.
I'm asking you to
Not
follow that
Robert's.
at least for today's meeting, because we can all take our turn to talk. That's my point of order.
Trustee Robinson.
Yeah, no, thank you. The forum is contentious. It was heartfelt, the stories. It wasn't just trustee Geist. We all were communicated as trustees that we were gonna cut the program. So it was directed at all of us. We had a number of emails, a number of direct phone calls, neighbors stopping by my house. So I felt we had a good opportunity to say that we support the program. There was some good it was an unfortunate event. It was not, I think, the board's finest hour. But there were some good suggestions that came out of it. And my go forward position would be, we've already committed to maintaining the program at its current level. What else can we do to help grow the program? And what are some of the suggestions that came forward from the people who attended it that are going to be positive to help us move the program forward? So
Right.
that's the point I'd like to make about that.
Okay.
Trustee Page.
This is a very serious situation. I don't know if you can really understand what you did here. I received and replied to a dozen emails from residents who had been told that the auxiliary program was being considered for cancellation. I attended the forum last week where I heard more of the same fears from residents who cited hearing from staff that the program was in peril, and shame on you for doing that, Supervisor Hewitt. Shame on you, truly, for telling that lie to vulnerable people. That was wrong on your part. You owe them an apology. You owe staff an apology for asking them to spread your lie to the residents. You owe this board an apology for telling residents and staff that we were considering canceling the program. You owe trustee Geist an apology for specifically naming her as the person who led the conversation on canceling the program. And you said as much at the forum. I heard you say it. I heard you direct those comments to the people who came to support you. You lied to advance your agenda to expand a service without board approval. And if you cannot see your way to a sincere apology for the angst that you caused all the people that I just named, then you really should consider resigning. You're unfit for this position.
Any other discussion here? Trustee McGovern?
My question is, we are here as a board to make decisions, to ask questions and clarify. If we are not allowed to ask questions, example, in front of us, and that's all it was, then what are we here for? Because I feel like my purpose, our purpose right now is super challenged because we have a supervisor that doesn't listen. And I would just like to reiterate, could you use a leave of absence? Do you want to take some time to think about things and a plan? Because we can't go on like this. You can't have government lying to their citizens. That's all I have to say, because I basically have no words.
Sounds like no boys neither.
Also, in that same meeting, a resident came forward and shared her story about her brother being killed by a drunk driver, and it was a very heartfelt story. Thank God you didn't kill anyone, and I hope that that's not what it takes for there to be a real consequence or remorse. But she shared her story, and there's a video clip. As she shared her heartfelt story, this is what you did the whole time. And after she was done, you went, oh, okay. She saw it. She saw it. And I saw tears in her eyes that you were so insensitive. It was very vulnerable for her to have that story shared. And the way that you handled her after that was very disrespectful. You've been driving township vehicles. You've been entrusted. Maybe that's part of the problem. I don't know. But we've asked you to resign. This is a bipartisan board that has asked you to resign unanimously over and over again, But in your obstinance, your petulance, you sit there smug, unremorseful, with no shame. Are you going to apologize or are we going to move on without the apology?
Again, the program has been cut in half.
Okay,
With
let's move
half
on.
of the
I'll make a
staff
motion.
and continuously,
I'll make a motion. to
again,
move to
senior
item 5.
services, we're
I make a motion
cut.
to move to item 5.
After you said services, we're not gonna be cut.
We had a second? Clerk?
Can I make one comment? We seem to have a visitor here who's, I think, is gonna make the presentation. You make the presentation.
I am.
What number is that?
What number?
You are with.
LRS. I think I've met you before. So.
Yes, we did.
I'll make a motion to move item number 8.
We have all this.
No, he didn't.
You need to sign, you need to sign in, sir.
Here, I get going.
All right, I think that was a great catch. Thank you, whoever did that. So the motion is made to move
And I seconded it, yes.
item 8.
You have a first and a second.
All in favor?
Yeah,
Okay. So,
That's okay. Let them go on the ship. with them.
okay, all right, well, good evening, everyone. So I am Katie Neary, I'm with LRS, your garbage company in Lisle Township, for the unincorporated homes anyway. And I'm going off my phone, bear with me, because I had a Cooper GoPod today, and so hopefully you don't mind me. I've got a lot to cover, I'm gonna try to go quick. Please bear with me, but I think this is extremely important, and if you've ever been involved in anything to do with garbage service for residential homes, it can be very contentious as well, so I want to make sure you have the full picture. So I'm obviously very grateful to be here. I've been hoping to come here for a little while and discuss, the residential program. I actually started with Rott's Disposal in Downers Grove in 1992, to give you I probably shouldn't date myself on that far, but it is about 31 years, 32 years now. I've been working in the environmental industry for about 30 years. Privileged to work, all over the world. I actually came back here in 2010, and here I am with Lakeshore today. I've been with LRS for about 7 years, and my primary role is overseeing the municipal contracts that we have. My goal in being here tonight is to bring everyone up to speed on the current market I don't expect any of you are, you know, close and following, the garbage industry, but I want to get a feel for the overall consensus, in terms of either renewing our agreement, or going out for bid. Having worked with government bodies for many years, I don't expect, trustees and aldermen to have a comprehensive understanding of the garbage industry, the current market, and how important it is for the residents that you're all representing tonight. So I have a lot to cover. I'm gonna jump into it. The reason why I put this together so extensively, I'll just tell you, is because if I were in your shoes, I would want to know these things. Brief history on our LRS, first of all, I don't expect you to know much about us either. Lakeshore is a recycling company. We are independently owned. We're headquartered in Rosemont. We started off in Morton Grove with just a few recycle facilities and a commercial company, hauling company. We've since grown to hundreds of locations throughout the Midwest. We have about 2,500 employees. We're not publicly traded. We are independent. As I said, I report to the original owner of LRS, who now sits on the board of directors. I'm extremely proud to share, we've always been a domestic recycler. These are important things, and as I go on, hopefully it'll start to resonate with you. The bulk of the materials that we recycle are actually resourced right here in the Midwest, okay? We're extremely fortunate to have acquired a municipal solid waste landfill in Northern Illinois as well. That's not easy to accomplish, to get a landfill. It takes about 10 to 15 years to site a landfill. And in Illinois these days, it might not ever happen. So while our primary infrastructure is still focused on recyclables, we might not be here today if we did not purchase that landfill a few years ago. I mention that because it's extremely important for you to know that we have decades of capacity to manage the materials from the township, both properly and domestically. And just so you are aware, disposal accounts for about 30% of our costs in the waste industry. The waste industry began consolidating drastically, actually in the 2000s, but it really started consolidating in the 90s. And what I mean is, the finale's kind of taken place in the last couple of years, and I'm going to touch on that. And what, it's basically just shy of an oligopoly, okay? There's definitely a monopoly on the garbage business. LRS is the only independent waste company with all of the assets required to provide the security any municipality would want today. There are, the publicly traded companies, and the three in particular that pretty much have a hold on the market, operate most of the landfills throughout the country. When I started in this business in the 90s, there were over 150 garbage companies just here in Northern Illinois. Like the Rats Disposal, like a mom and pop shop. They're not here anymore. Lakeshore bought most of them, to be honest. In the last, 4 or 5 years, we picked up, in one year we did 22 acquisitions, just to give you an idea. Why is that happening? Because there is a squeeze on the industry. It's just like many businesses, and if you're in business, you may be experiencing it yourself, where, the larger corporations, especially in our business, they will make sure that they own it. They own you, and they'll jack up the prices so high so that, these small companies can't afford to dispose there anymore. So today there are 3 publicly traded companies. Well, there's more publicly traded companies, but these are the 3 in our area that really have any presence, okay? It's basically Waste Management, WM, okay? Republic, and Waste Connections, which is Group, okay? We know as Group, but they're publicly traded. So Waste Management announced, it's in their Q3 2023 report, it's actually in a couple other ones, they're no longer interested in the residential business, okay? It is not profitable, I will tell you that, for a company like a Waste Management. So this is something that came from the CEO's mouth, so I'm not saying anything that you can look it up yourself. It's on page 22 of the Q3 report. So since they own the bulk of these disposal facilities, they don't really care, investing all their capital. It's very capital intensive and labor intensive picking up garbage from your home, okay? It's much easier to pick up like a commercial business. We can make a lot more money doing that in our industry. So they've shifted gears.
And there's a few things that have led into that. I'm gonna touch on that because you have to understand what's coming. And this is for anything, okay, but our industry really got whacked. And I want you to understand that, so, they're intentionally losing municipal contracts. He said that as well on the same paragraph, on the last report. He said it's too expensive, basically, so. Having been in this for too many decades, what I saw, what really happened was with China's national sword. And if you're not familiar with that, in 2018, China, who has been receiving our recyclables for decades, they get shipped overseas by barge. And they just did basically overnight, because of some other geopolitical circumstances, said, no more. We're not taking any more recyclables. They're saying we're not taking any contaminated loads. That's pretty much every single load, okay? So they shut it down, and what happened was, for 2 years, we had barges floating around in the ocean with garbage, okay? Nowhere for this material to go from hundreds and actually millions of homes, okay? And so why would that be? Why wouldn't they just bring it back? And, there's no buyers for the materials. First of all, it's trash labeled as recycling. And this is what China was accepting because, and they would have their own process and use slave labor essentially to process all these materials. And that's number one. I just want to highlight again, we've always been a domestic recycler. Okay. So we've never shipped overseas. So I want you to know that. And there is a level of security in that as well. Okay. So the cost was significant for a company like Waste Management, which has the bulk share of the market. And now they've got all these barges with nowhere for this material to go. So basically, another thing to understand, I think a lot of people think, oh, recycling, there's so much money in recycling. Well, no, actually it costs us double to get rid of recycling, to process recycling. It's not like the 80s when it first came out and we were all, neatly separating. You remember when it first came out, our glass, and then it was nice. We didn't have everybody just throwing everything that wish cycling, we call it, where you we get everything, dirty diapers, well, it's recyclable. So, but the profits were always in the landfill. I used to sell jewelry for many years, and I'll tell you, it's the same markup and I worked on the landfill side. It's the same markup on the landfill side. It's about 150% profit margin. Okay. Versus, I don't know what it is exactly. I haven't been on that side for a while, but it's like diamonds, and gold. The markup is outrageous. On the hauling side, on the labor, you're just throwing money away. So if you don't do it right. So it costs more to process recycling today. Okay. Now at that time, there were 4 publicly traded companies. You guys may have heard of Advanced Disposal. It's was Veolia, it was Onyx before that, because that's what we do in our business. We just constantly shift around until it narrows down to what we are right now. Waste Management bought Advanced Disposal a couple years ago. Obviously, the DOJ got involved with this, okay? I mean, that's very common. The Department of Justice will always get in and say, okay, you have too much market share here. You have to divest. And sometimes they'll say, you have to divest this, and that. When this happened, it happened during COVID. And it was crazy, to be honest. And here in DuPage County, unfortunately, did not submit any requests to the Department of Justice. And you only have 1 transfer station here, which is kind of a bad thing for DuPage County. But all the other counties submitted, requests, and lo and behold, we ended up with some of those transfer stations our company did. So essentially, you have no competition. You have very little that actually would bid on a contract like this, okay? After that acquisition, Waste Management obviously has a tremendous amount of volume, capacity, and many other things, but the one other thing that they acquired were a lot of unprofitable municipal contracts from Advanced Disposal. So they looked at, where they were gonna make money, and went to something different. They're backing out of contracts. So the top 3, you went down to 2. And I'm leaving us out of this. I'm gonna bring that in a second. And then COVID hit. So it just further drove home why these residential contracts, they're not going to lure investors. So if you think about COVID, when we were all sitting at home remote working, and everybody's got their printer set up at home and everything, and then they start throwing away all that trash at home. we were picking up that trash and not seeing any compensation from that. But all the businesses that we were picking up were no longer picking up. We didn't have the labor to pick those, you know, we didn't even have people. So we had to double our labor to pick up from the curb, receiving no compensation for that. Because that's not part of the essential worker plan, you know what I mean? So it was really rough, okay, just needless to say, on the entire industry. So that just sealed that residential pickup to be, it was like doomsday. So for 2 years, we lost a lot of business, obviously, had to establish our own infrastructure for remote working. Ate the cost of disposal, still, still the supply chain is screwed up as well. So then we ran into the year of inflation. So it went out for us, we don't go by CPI. A lot of our contracts are CPI. But there's no fuel in the CPI. There's a lot of things that doesn't apply to our industry at all. So we were at 9 to 13%. That's what our industry absorbed from 2022 to 2023. And then what we just had, and we're still seeing, is, you may know, the year of the strikes. So that's pretty significant for us. And this is everybody. Now I'm talking about any garbage hauler that has a union, well, if you're in Chicagoland, you have union drivers, and if you don't, you will. Because they threatened, obviously, all the hauling companies. So now add on another 10% to our costs, to our labor, which accounts for 30% of our costs. So we acquired most of the private haulers in the last 7 years. And so you get the drift. The industry for residential business it's not the best thing. So we witnessed a lot of large companies being unable to even meet their contractual obligations. It's not uncommon right now. I saw Cape Coral, Florida. I used to live there, which got my attention. I knew some of these people. And I mean, it's like, just Google it. Cape Coral, Florida, garbage problems. Jackson, Mississippi, garbage problems. That stuff is sitting out at the curb for months, because that's what's going on in our business. So I'm not, right here, we're good. I mean, we've got coverage, we're good. I don't ever see that happening here, but I'm just pointing out, it's happening across the United States. So do I need to?
No, sorry. I'm not-
So we do have our one landfill. We have to fill that landfill. We have decades of capacity. It's in we have an amazing state-of-the-art facilities. We set the bar for all of the recycle facilities. So now Waste Management actually built a facility. And because all of our competitors had to come up to where we were, they also had to be responsible for their recyclables as well. We're not perfect, obviously. I'm no different than our competitors. We've had our own challenges. But we care, we're here, we recover quickly. And I do take great pride in the municipalities that we service. So most townships have very little experience with waste contracts. Most municipalities that have a staff, that are dedicated to garbage, that's part of under their purview. They don't change garbage companies sometimes I even have one that's 60 years with one company. So to give you an idea, why is that? Well, I don't know if anybody's actually in the unincorporated township area here and you experience a transition of service that we went through during COVID. But that, it's very, very difficult. It's not one service. It touches every home, 3 services. So transitioning a service it can be very challenging. So just to give you an idea, the last bid that went out here, you received 2 bids, one from the incumbent, which was the public, I was here, and me. I submitted a proposal. I kept my eye on this, and this is back when Supervisor Mullen was here. And so we submitted that, had a very short amount of time to roll that out. I mean, it was like weeks. And then we had COVID, of course, had some struggles, got through it. I think we did a pretty good job considering. We're still paying on our capital expenditures for Lisle Township. You guys have these very short 2-year terms. That is not attractive to any waste hauler because we're still paying. We're still paying on year 5. We're counting on a 10-year term at least, but I can't commit to a 10-year term and give you pricing 10 years out anymore. That used to be golden. It was like a 10-year contract. Now they will, no way. I can't even get a 7-year. 5 years is the most, but that said, I just wanted to give you the gist of what's going on in our industry so you can make a good decision. The current structure here in Lisle Township with this hybrid program, You have the stickers, which, you know, it's your residential program, by the way, it's exactly almost identical to the Village of Lisle. Okay? What is different is the Village of Lisle has more, I'll call it scale, significant more scale, because we have all of their, any residential dwelling unit. So all of their apartment buildings and condos are included in there. And the reason why I say that is just because it's not gonna be apples to apples. So we're the exclusive hauler for all the apartments there. You know, it makes a difference in the sticker price and everything else. Historically, and I'm telling you this because I want, just you decide what you want to do. Obviously, but the Village of Lisle always aligned their contracts with their board terms. So there were 3-year contracts, okay? That worked out for decades. They stopped doing this, and I encourage you to check with the Village of Lisle, by the way, and just ask about what I'm telling you tonight. Waste haulers, you know, they won't provide very long contracts. Unfortunately, they can go bankrupt doing that now. So the garbage service, it's not like choosing a new printer vendor or something like that. It's a serious change. Is my point there, but we count on these long-term contracts with all the headwinds, you know, we've encountered. We also need a level of comfort going into these partnerships. You know, we don't come into these light if we thought, oh, you know, I mean, it was a risk coming into this one because it was 2-year terms, you know, but we're, you know, generally not expecting to transition out. We're going to be a partner to you as well and give you the best rates possible because we're in the best position to do that, you know? So it'd be foolish, you know, in most instances, not to go out for bid. I'm gonna tell you the truth. For people in my company, they would say, let this one go out to bid. Because we know we have plenty of examples, and recent example is the city of Geneva. That is a community that we service. We approach them, and the same way I'm offering for you right now to potentially look at a renewal and maybe even a longer term for your benefit and the residents' benefit anyway. And they're like, well, you know, we gotta go out for bid, and they ended up paying $2 more. And the reason is because now I have different eyes on it. That's a standalone RFP. I have to go through a whole different process versus I'm just going to present this as a renewal. I only have to deal with a few different people, and this is pretty much probably everybody that does this. And so you'll get a better deal if we go out for bid. I've had it happen in 3 other municipalities where they ended up paying more because the people that do the research on our end are well versed on exactly what we can get. Okay. So I just wanted to present that to you and let you know, I'm open to whatever you choose to do. I do think that it's important to know, you know, a transition takes time as well, a proper transition. We were like transition nuts for a while. It was just like transition after transition. So we got it down so well that, you know, we had such a strong team. We were able to do that. I doubt anybody else can do what we did. And so anyway, just to demonstrate a few things. Your contract, and I don't have the one from 2018 to 2020. We started at August 2020, okay? The rates Republic was charging the township in 2018, so 7 years ago. For yard waste, for example, a yard waste cart was 17% more. The cost of a sticker was 12% more. It's 12% more today, so it's still higher, but it's 12%. And then the 95-gallon cart, which is what most people use that have a cart, was only 5.9% less than what it is today, okay? My point is just to give you the gravity of what the financial side looks like. So that's, you know, I think I've kind of covered everything else. I mean, you do want to haul over the landfill. You want to ensure there's a place where the garbage should go, the materials. A publicly traded company is going to charge you a lot. So you're not going to get a good deal there. You're probably not going to get the offer of a sticker program. So the Village of Lisle went out for bid. They thought, you know, it was kind of like old times. And the only bid that they got for the program that they have with the stickers was us. It's an all cart program or they're not interested now. And it is way more, it's way better for us. And I would love it if you guys want to switch to an all cart program, but I don't think your senior citizens or your empty nesters or your people that are smaller households would appreciate that. If we can keep this sticker program going which I'm going to ask for. If you want this, I will go back and look at this for a 5-year term. That's what I think would be ideal for you. If we're not going to do that and you're looking for a renewal at this point, like a 1 year or something like that, I don't know if they'll do that. I can ask. You know, so, and then the other thing I was thinking I think, you know, Lisa asked me one time about, and also, Diane about the dumpster over here for the food pantry. So I can assure you, haven't done just about everything in our industry except for drive a truck. If that thing is under the same contract from Republic, you need to get out of that contract because it is just rolling and rolling and rolling with a price increase. And there's this teeny window you have to submit a certified letter and cancel the service or pay your liquidated damages or whatever. Or you cancel the service and they give you a great rate, which I doubt. As a partner, I mean, for us, we could include it in the contract. I don't know how that would actually work on your end. It's a food pantry, it's food waste, it's heavy. I don't know how many times a week it's picked up, but we would look at it either way and give you a great discount, you know, should we continue our partnership. So with that, I would take any questions.
Yeah, thank you. When are we up for renewal?
8/1 of this year.
So I'm in Incorporated Lisle, so I
Okay.
have
Oh, you
your
have,
services.
yeah.
Yeah, so I guess my question for you is, if you're already gonna be in the village, right? Is there some type of better rate you can offer if you're gonna pick up the garbage the same day? I mean, to me, it seems like it would make sense that if you're gonna be here, you might as well do village and unincorporated at the same time, since the pockets are so weird. It's not like the unincorporated is here and the rest is incorporated, right? It's all woven. So I'm just wondering if there's not a better rate opportunity, and obviously, we don't have to discuss that now, but
Yeah.
it's something to keep in mind if you're able to manage that pickup the same day.
I think we do pick up most of it on Wednesday.
Okay, so it is the same day.
Yeah, but it's
Okay.
different crews altogether.
Okay.
So think of it this way, like, you know, we have, you know, one driver could probably, you know, on an average day, we're picking up about 1,000 homes a day per driver. In a very dense population.
Mhm.
Some of Lisle Township is a little spread out, and then you're right, there's these pockets. You know, there's some out in the Downers Grove area, you know, some out close, right, butts up right next to Lisle's, Naperville addresses. So we're in all of those. So, you know,
Yeah.
but, you know, what I will do, you know, I would encourage you to check with anyone that's dealt with me, and, you know, there's people, if you live in the village of Lisle, even Naperville. I mean, I was with Naperville and Mayor Pradle when they first switched to the garbage carts. I worked on that for 2 years. And it was, you know, I'm your liaison. I'm looking out for you because I don't want to lose your business, so it behooves me to do the best that I can for you, so you're going to get the best. I negotiate on your behalf, if that makes sense, so.
Fair, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, you don't have to use cards in this area, right, because of raccoons.
Yeah.
And,
Oh,
I mean, we can't just put a bag of garbage out anymore, right?
Yeah, some people do, some people do.
Really?
And they don't get dug into?
No,
Wow.
so
We don't do it to the day of.
that's what I find.
Oh,
We'll put it out in the morning, and especially if they know the timer driver usually gets there, although
okay.
I just say always to everybody, put
Yeah.
it out. If you can the night before, in your case, you know, if it's 6 o'clock or start time, get it out by 6, because you never know what's gonna happen that day in the garbage business, so.
Fair, thank you. I appreciate the presentation. It was a lot of good information.
Clerk Collins.
I appreciate your presentation as well. My question actually is for you, Attorney Settler. What are our options at this point? We've already extended it once. I know the contract's up on July 31st. So is it something that can be continued to be extended without issue, or do we have to, otherwise we would go out for bid or the RFP, right? Or
That's my understanding. We would either just to continue and extend it. I don't know if there's the option to renegotiate any part of it or go for a different type of term. We could enter into that discussion directly with LRS if that's what the board wanted to do. Or we could go out to RFP or, you know, and actually and see what other options are out. Those are all viable.
great.
Yeah, because this is an exception to the general rule for the township board. You're allowed to enter into a contract that's beyond your terms in office. So you may hear me at other times say you can't do that because you can't commit to something for a future board or future, and so this one, the code actually allows you to do that.
But we're not
If you're
obligated
not obligated.
to stop extending and go out for bid. There's no law to that. Were you able to send a proposal to us already?
No,
or-
so that's my position would be, if you're not sure, I would rather you go out for bid. I would, because then we're harming ourselves.
Yeah.
I'm putting my numbers out there, somebody comes in, 10 cents less and, you know what I mean? So that's a very,
No, I get it, I get sales.
Trustee,
Guys. So what I was wondering is if we do decide that we would like to know what a proposal would look like, because here's what I would think.
Yeah.
You said that you don't want to do terms less than, you don't really want to do terms for less than 5 years, right? But I would like to know what our rate reduction could be if we did do 3, 5, I want to know what that breakdown is. I don't know that we want to go out for bid. I don't know that I don't know that this is necessary.
yeah.
But I think it would be good to know what kind of rate decrease we could have with you.
Sure.
Right? We already know the service. We already know what we know. And so if we could know what a rate decrease would look like based on a couple of different terms, that would help us to decide,
Yeah.
not because we want to
The term.
play around and go, well, can we get it for 10 cents? No, but just so we can know, hey, does it make sense to do this? And then if it doesn't, like, if you can't give numbers that really qualify us sticking this, then we can go and start. I mean,
I think what I would do, is maybe look at your, maybe even a 4-year
okay,
and a 5-year. We won't go over 5, unfortunately. I
Okay.
just did my last 7 year and I got in trouble for it. So, I can do 5, as a max.
oh, so 5 is the max. Okay, so I think a year difference, I don't know that the number is gonna be that
You never
significant,
know.
really?
Yeah, it's very,
Okay.
we have a,
Okay,
Yeah.
so dynamic,
massive,
sure.
and they're like, they look at everything to our maintenance costs and when those start to kick in and,
Okay.
there's just different factors we've learned over the years that are built into those numbers. So you're right. We can check that. I can do that.
Thank you.
Is Tom a contractor or an acquisition?
I inherited Strong myself, so that was an acquisition. Yes. Great company.
Where's your landfill located?
It is in Henry County.
Where's that?
That's
Northwest corner?
West,
West.
Okay.
just outside the Quad
Central.
Cities.
That's
about
right.
30
Oh, okay. You're up by the river
Yeah,
then.
you can't get a landfill. So we found this property. And, the IEPA was like, well, you have to do this, 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 and that. We went above and beyond, and then we made another deal with another local, property owner, like a trade. And now we're set for a long time.
How much is it?
It's the size of it, how many acres, I'm not sure, a lot. It's significant, it's serious country, I actually used to live out there too.
So the pickup trucks go to a transfer facility
That's
and then the trash is transferred to a larger
That's exactly right.
and then it's hauled. So the drivers are not driving the trash
No.
trucks of it.
Or we would be out of business, yeah. It would take all day. But yeah, that's a good question.
So we don't have to,
trustee Geist,
sorry.
and raise our hands, trustee Geist.
You did it? That's because you're. We don't have to make a decision right now, though, so we've got time. It's only February, so this is great that you came and spoke to us
Yep.
now. So we can
Think about it.
think about it and then,
Just be, I want to be I hope you can see I'm being extremely transparent with you. I want you to have the best numbers possible. The longer we wait, it doesn't seem to get any better these days in our country right now. So it might be good, to try to maybe in the next meeting or so decide, I can give the proposal. My concern is just keep in mind, if I give the proposal and you're like, oh my gosh, we're going out for bid. That it's still gonna be my proposal, more than likely, or we're going to go up.
that's fine. I think that's
So,
fine, but I think
okay.
having that option is important.
Okay.
So, I mean, I know I would like to see a proposal.
Yeah.
I don't, but then, we. Trustees.
Oh, yes.
The comparison between the 4 to 5
Definitely.
year.
Yep.
would be-
I think that's good, yeah.
Yep.
I'll look at the numbers and see whatever I see that looks best, because if it's 3 and 3 looks better than 5, I'll give you the 3. So, because I never know, sometimes I'm shocked. I'm like, wow, you would think,
I also have the information.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you for your
Thank you.
time. And
I
I
appreciate it.
apologize that you got to be part of
Okay.
our.
You know
our
what?
dysfunctional-
I've had police escort. Police escort me out of places before, so.
Oh, Lord. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is tame.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
And one more question is,
Yes.
the likelihood, one of the pieces to note for the unincorporated people in particular is the difference in cost between having a sticker type of situation and having a bin that has to be taken away at certain or for a monthly fee.
Yeah.
It's what, it's $4.75 for a sticker as
Yep.
opposed to a monthly.
It's almost $28 a month, for the largest card right now. So you have a choice. You have 3 sizes, and that might be something we'll look at too. We may grandfather in the 35-gallon cards. They are brutal for our industry, but, then there's a 65-gallon rate and you're 95, so I would give you an exact, if there's anything I could see that would improve your rates too, I'll suggest that as well and just give you the option. And say, if you did this, it might cost you less, but the sticker program, it might be the last one we do, and that's why I'm suggesting the 5. Because I told Lisle, and it's public, this is probably the last time we'll do this, because and I don't want to go into it publicly, but there's a theft component that we cannot police. So,
Yeah,
I
I could see that.
yeah.
Like, you think you put your sticker on there?
Well, yeah, there's
Yeah,
something,
okay.
there's a way that people figure how to work, and our drivers, they don't have any way to know. And quite frankly, they're just gonna pick up what they see out there, and make sure it's done.
Yeah.
And that you're happy. So, thank you. You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, next item is discussion and possible action on the current Republic trash services with Lisle Township properties. Trustee Robinson.
Sorry, I might want to just say, we moved 8 up. Do we want to get back and do the accountant's report next?
Sure. Next, we have the accountant's report at number 5.
Do we have anyone to speak to it?
So, as we were, as has been mentioned in previous meetings and in the contract with them, they aren't planning to be here every single time to present a report. Everything has been in the packet. I know the highway commissioner has had several changes or a few changes that were gone over earlier.
What are you speaking of?
Accountant report.
Well, there was a change in 2 bills in particular.
Because they made the input of them correct.
Okay.
Well, we didn't make changes. We
Well,
made no changes. We looked at the reports and said there was errors in them, and we'd like to see them correct.
and they were
Was
corrected this morning.
Was that the
Um,
$4.99 and the another one for 3,000?
Yeah.
Those were the 2 that we just looked at, quick followers.
So the
50786. No, I'm sorry, 50787.
He cut two additional checks. For 2 vendors. Because the amount was wrong on the check. So he fixed it.
So I got 2 more
Should we
checks,
talk
right?
Yeah.
about, do you want, is that for tire management and, building?
Well, it should, when you did the audit, those amounts that the check and the invoice shouldn't have met. Right? Supplemental
We
checks
covered
were
that
cut
in the
to
audit.
match
Sure, I
that.
saw that,
We're gonna cover that in the audit though, right?
yeah.
Can I make a motion that since we don't have an accountant present, we can certainly all read the accountant report so that we can move along to item number 6? auditing bills and claims.
Sure, does somebody want to make a motion to go to,
Can I ask one question about the township work? Is all that paper your township work? I mean, I think it was an interesting.
Of the 105, pages,
I would suggest that the trustees don't need all that.
we've suggested this before, really, just,
Not the report at least.
right,
I do like having something, but we don't need the report. It's too big.
the profit, right, this is 108 pages printed.
Yeah,
The P&L statement, one page would be perfect.
Um,
Well, we have the
Yeah,
balance sheet.
that's actually good.
Okay, so that, but I made a motion,
I'm sorry.
right?
I just wanted, perhaps there can be some discussion.
We agree.
Okay, that's,
I think we're on the same page.
Yep.
I'll second your motion.
so
Yeah.
discussion of, so we're in discussion, and then all in favor of having a, so I couldn't hear the
The
first motion.
motion is to, since we do not have an accountant present to ask questions and we can all review the report. My motion is to move forward to the audit of bills and claims, because that's kind of where we were going over here anyway, and we can move into the audit.
We don't really need a motion for that, we can just move on, correct?
That's.
Okay.
Yeah.
Audit of bills and claims,
So, no.
Do we have any checks full about it?
Yeah, we do. So,
Do we have a first and a second? Have we entered?
no, no.
Okay, I didn't think so.
make a motion to enter the audit of bills and claims.
A second?
and then we're in discussion. And then a roll call vote,
Trustee Geis.
Yes.
Trustee Page.
Yes.
Trustee McGovern.
Yes.
Trustee Robinson.
Yes.
Supervisor Hewitt.
yes.
And that's number 6. Okay, so
So
the,
somebody needs to make a motion to approve or
We
Well, we're in discussion now?
Yeah,
no, that was already passed.
So we entered the audit,
Right.
but we're not approving the audit yet. We have discussion. So my question was, were there any checks pulled from the?
there were a couple of checks pulled from the audit. I don't have the check numbers.
I did,
Fine.
yeah, I have them. I do want to mention that this was all a really nice, neat pile. And now there's like checks thrown, which worries me a little bit because there's like this and there's no invoice. So now I don't know if that's been audited or not.
The
because
things
of-
at the top were the ones that needed to be audited.
Do you want me to
And
check
that's
them?
because they were new, because of, there was a stack of bills that had, that apparently the reason why the changes were made was because there was a stack of, receipts, and there was the last page, apparently, and one of them in particular was what the accountant missed in one of them.
So my question is, which are the checks that were added? I see the one for tire management,
That was
that was, and, that
Well-
is the other one.
Title Management's original check was lost in the mail. And so there were a bunch of emails that went back and forth, and we discussed to go ahead and void the old check and cut a new check.
Okay, so that is, so, but I don't have a
Well-
backup to it, so you're saying it's in the existing audit?
It's like $3,056.
Meant with government.
Some odd cents.
Okay,
Okay,
yes.
Yeah, that is.
And then the other check that's been changed, or that was just thrown on top, was $499 for building stars.
That one, I don't know anything about.
No, that's the normal.
Okay, it was thrown right on top.
That wasn't one we pulled.
No, both of these we didn't pull. These were just laying on the top, and that's why
So what happened to our order? We had the ones that we pulled on top.
I had those. These were added to them, so I have questions. You know what I mean? Like, so we have a check for the tire management, so I will look for the invoice, because you said it should be there already.
From, January, I believe it was.
See, that's to replace a voided check. So there's, unless you go back, I mean, we could
But I
get,
have nothing. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
Right here. That's where it is.
Russ just reminded me of something that I'd heard as well, but when checks are lost in the mail, there's a risk of someone
Yes.
taking them and washing them.
Yeah,
and
I was gonna
trying-
raise my hand.
That happened to me.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
It's happened to a couple of government entities that have issued checks, just to, not that it has, but just to be.
Yep.
Vigilant and make
Yeah.
sure to
I was
watch,
gonna raise my
make
hand
sure
if
that
it
it
should.
is. It's,
sorry.
yeah, it's been pretty bad.
I'm sorry, but
They either steal a check or they wash it or they get your
Yeah.
routing number. And it happens and
it's bad.
the postal inspector generals are involved because there's people in the post office they expect. It's a whole horrible thing, but just to
but that's
be
the problem.
extra
The bank
vigilant.
has to absorb that one.
Yeah, but
Yes, but you
meanwhile,
have to
they can
catch it.
still
The
cut into
insurance
your-
company does.
your- to your account.
Yeah,
Okay,
just to,
thank you. Good discussion.
So then the tire management, here it is, it's stopped paying.
You got it?
You got
Okay.
it. So that is, and then building stars looks, it's 50882. You want to see where they started?
It's in here.
What was the second one?
50882 is on the list here, 499.
Okay, then we're okay. I just,
Building
like I
start-
said, they were just thrown on top of me. They didn't, you know.
So
Okay.
when we finish the audit of expenditure, what happens to the pile?
It went back to, into a locked cabinet and it was, put in the finance department's locked cabinets. And then again, he fixed a variety of things today, and so he got them back out. We'll make sure that they go back into order, but he was going through them, several times to fix what needed to be done.
Okay, thank you. I just want to make sure I know what happened.
They were
to the-
all in
maybe
a
we'll
locked
stick you with
cabinet
some
the
of it
entire
there.
time.
There were 2 checks that you had pulled.
Correct.
For Yosh.
Yep.
Um,
So do you want to explain why we pulled them or do you want to, yeah?
go ahead.
Well, we don't understand why we are writing checks for reimbursement. There's no invoice, there's no purchase order. What should happen is, especially for the expenses that he paid for out of his own personal funds, which he shouldn't have to do, he should be submitting those bills to the board for approval so that we can issue checks. And then he doesn't have to be out his personal funds to honor the remittance of the bill.
But adding on to that, why are we on this side paying bills for the 708 board? They have their
Because,
own
Coming off
funds.
of our line, it's coming off of our line item, though. The accountant confirmed that. I'm sorry.
yes,
It is?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, so that, all right,
He's gonna show that to us. He said he was gonna show it
okay,
to us.
thank you.
Remember, that's what we had talked about. He was gonna show it by
Right.
coming off their line item.
Okay.
so there wasn't a check written to them for the amount of the loan. That didn't
Well,
happen.
we already understand
And
that.
so they're coming off of the line item.
Yeah.
And they're coming through, so
Thank you.
everyone was sent a treasurer's report and the
thank you.
actual expenses.
But he should understand too, that the same way we expect you to submit invoices, he needs to submit invoices. So that's the first check.
And this one's particularly troubling because it's to the attorney. So he's personally paying the attorney bills. And that's for $1,035. We don't have, we don't have the authority that it's over $1,000 to approve it. That's on them. But this is, this is a personal reimbursement for attorney costs that really should, there's no reason it shouldn't come here on time for us to pay. And then here's another one for $90.44, which looks like it's a reimbursement for mileage maybe, and a publish of a notice of intent. So those are the 2 you pulled.
Okay,
But
I
there's
don't
another one.
believe that they have a purchasing policy. I don't believe that they've created the format of having that type of a sign off yet. And so we can ask them to do that in this next meeting, on the 28th that's coming up. Again, they're a brand new board, and so we'll ask that they create and develop these policies.
Well, they're not a brand
Trustee
new board, but you
Robinson.
work with them on a regular basis. They should have the same expectation that we, since we're paying Alex, right?
Is there backup?
there's well, wait a minute. There's backup, there's invoices for the for the attorney.
Okay.
On the other one. The Daily Herald there is, I don't know what you would have for mileage. You know, there's no backup for the
It doesn't
mileage.
say where he went.
He went R/T to, the Acme High, I mean, in Schaumburg.
Right,
That's
return
that,
trip is what
that's
it means,
that,
return
the
trip.
program. But
Okay.
I don't know how you prove mileage. My mileage.
I mean, I don't
but
think
other
it's
than
right.
that- So I
But
don't know
there's more
what,
checks than that were pulled.
well, that's these two, so I
Oh,
don't know
okay.
if you want to reconcile those, what you want to do with those.
Trustee Robinson.
I would make a motion to pay them, but I think it's important. They seem legitimate, reasonable within his budget expense. But that they do have a purchasing and approval policy that maybe they can follow ours, that hopefully we'll get past tonight. I think it's important to be pre-approval, same as we're asking for, but for these specific ones, I would make a motion or a recommendation that we pay them. But I wasn't part of the audit.
Well, I agree with trustee Robinson, and I would further add to that, that they follow the same purchasing policy that we end up adopting, which includes credit card usage.
Yeah.
Tied to our
they
bank
can do
account.
whatever that, yeah. It's just reimbursing. Reimbursing, for regular expenses that could truly come through. It's just bad policy, you know, or bad way of doing business. The other one you pulled is one of them, and it's to you, Diane, for $2,806.43. So there's the Concentra bill, that's what it sounds like, Concentra. The medical that is back in October, we understand that it was gonna go into collections if it didn't get paid. You know, but again, this was since October. And then the other one, then there's a bunch of little ones for like replacement blades for box cutters, $26.98. $107 for more box cutters for the food pantry for $107, but there's a bigger one. Cleaning supplies again for the food pantry, $31.96. But the biggest one is 2258.16, and that's the Pace Van repair.
So I guess the reason why we pulled this, I'll tell you, the reason why we pulled this is we had made very clear that when we have expenses like this, there needs to be an invoice or purchase order so that we have something that we give you, have a check issued for. Not so that you use your credit card, potentially having personal benefit from that, and then getting reimbursed. Not having a credit card and then using your personal credit card, it negates the point of not having a credit card. We want invoices that bills can be paid for with checks. There's no reason when the driver went to pick up the van, if they said, no, you have to pay for it with a credit card, we should have said, there should have been a phone call here. Hey, we need a check written and we need to get approval from two trustees and get that check signed up on so they can pick up the van. That could have been done in 5 minutes, a quick text. Would have been done. I'm 5 minutes away. I've been coming over and signing checks several times. So it's very easy to do. But instead of doing what we've asked for months and months and months, don't use a credit card. Please let us have a check assigned. The credit card was used again. So I'm not gonna vote to approve payment of the check.
The other part to that is that it's over $1,000 and it didn't get approval by it needed two trustees. That's where we're at right now, and it didn't get approval.
Okay, and Jim has sent you several emails describing how Willowbrook Ford had said that they were going to invoice us. And then when we had sent the person over, they said they were not going to accept a check. And so the only way that we would get that van back was by having a credit card used. It would be great if, all of a sudden I didn't have to keep pulling out money out of my pocket. The
What's the name of the
Suburban
person who said they
purchasing,
would give you would accept a check, and then the name of the person who said they would not accept a
I
check?
didn't talk to them.
Okay, Willowbrook Ford?
Willowbrook Ford,
Okay.
Jim talked to them, he put this in writing several times. And then Alexia, one of our staff members, also said that she was the person that was calling me to ask for the credit card because Willowbrook Ford was not going to invoice us. So both staff members thoroughly had dealt with this situation. I
Who
was
said
not
they would
trying
take-
to do that.
Okay, thank you for answering that. Who said that they would accept a check?
Again, I didn't talk to the staff members at
Who
all.
scheduled the van for repair?
Jim did.
So Jim scheduled the van for repair.
Mhm.
And Jim spoke to someone who said that they would accept a payment by check.
Yes.
And he didn't tell you who the name of that person was?
No, he's written it to you several times.
The name of the person? I don't remember
No,
seeing the
he
name.
wrote you his story several times in several
The
emails
name
and
of the-
several reports.
Several?
Yes.
Several.
So, check or
I know.
credit card, and written or not, did you get approval by two trustees?
Again, we didn't have frankly, we're still under the old purchasing policy
Either
because we
way,
haven't passed the new purchasing policy.
which means
and
1,000.
Again, it was 5,000 actually.
No, it's actually
1,000.
1,000 when we had the special meeting. Wasn't that the numbers that we said in the special meeting?
I cannot remember, but I would,
I do know it's 1,000 because we've been looking through the audit of anything that's over 1,000. So I believe it was your very first meeting with us, Attorney Seckler, where the purchasing policy, where the trustees gave direction for what, and that was $1,000. It's now all of a sudden changed. I mean,
I'd love to use a credit card for these big expenses. I love the travel benefits and the mileage benefits that come from that spend. It's significant. But the rule is the rule.
$1,000 to $5,000. This is on this is what was passed.
no, that's not what that wasn't. There was a motion at the meeting. We never got past the motion. We've never approved another.
Correct.
This is the
purchasing
original
pol-
one.
Correct, but that was amended on the meeting by the minutes, and we've been running that way. And that's why you have called when it was the company meeting or the company, the luncheon. That's why you called to get two trustees to approve it, and it wasn't even over 1,000, but it's, so
I
the
had
point.
I had the approval right now of Jim Moreno, who is the interim township administrator. I would love to see these minutes of what you're talking about, but
Remember your
nothing is
first
in
meeting.
the
So
minutes
I-
right now.
I remember there was the discussion and that's where we started preparing the new policy because it was under the direction to prepare a new policy, but I don't know if. There was nothing at that meeting to get approved itself. It was, you wanted things and then to be actually written
No,
down.
Clerk Powell, there's what, okay,
Yeah,
let's
that's-
play devil's advocate. Why did you have to get two trustees approval to pay for the lunch for the senior program?
We didn't have an operations manager at that time.
that has nothing to do with
what
it.
does that have to do with anything?
So in the past, when I had anything to be approved, the operations manager approved everything. Or
Your
didn't.
subordinate
That's
approved their
not-
expenses?
Yes,
Yeah.
everything was signed off by Gerald if there was going to be any expenses. And now that we have an interim administrator, he's the
I
one
know.
that's signing off on
I
anything.
would've- I'm not
So
approving it.
again, I did not in any way wish or get involved with trying to get the ban fixed. Trustee Robinson.
Appreciate everyone's perspective. I understand completely the frustration around why the personal credit card was used. There was an expense that was incurred on behalf of the township. How do we want to resolve this?
I have an idea. I'd like to call Willowbrook Ford tomorrow and negotiate giving them a check and asking them to refund her credit card. I think that's a very, yeah. I'm happy to contact them tomorrow personally and ask them if we can issue them a check for this payment because we had an employee use their personal credit card and it's unscrupulous for them to give us their word that we could have paid by an invoice. Sounds like somebody just doesn't know how to advocate. I'm a good advocator, I bet you can imagine. And so I'm really comfortable calling and asking them to reverse that credit card and accepting a check from us. And so I would just like 72 hours to do that.
I think it's fair.
Right?
Assessor Trowbridge.
Do you have a copy? Is that part of the submission for payment? Is that through the bill from Willowbrook Board? Is there any tax paid on that?
So we didn't look.
Is there tax paid on anything that she's purchased? And she's using her personal credit card, so that's another thing. By using your personal credit card,
No, Labor parts, I don't see tax, Valor cashier yet. I don't see tax.
Okay.
I
like the suggestion, sorry.
See the others. There, I'm looking at the other ones too, yeah.
Okay, and if this is not approved, then this is gonna come up on the 22nd when we have the budget hearing.
yes,
We'll have a special meeting
Maybe we'll have an
in,
answer by then.
we will definitely,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
I'm good with that.
We certainly don't want you to have to fit that bill. It's not, first of all, it's not appropriate for you to fit the bill, but it's not appropriate to use the personal credit card for the bill. So I would like to advocate on your behalf, on behalf of the township, to have them accept a check payment and reverse the charge to your credit card.
great. Is there a motion then? You have a motion, trustee Geist, is there a second?
Second.
I didn't
For,
make a
there's
motion.
not a motion, this is
I didn't
a
make a motion,
recommendation for,
but the motion is we are
The
not
check's
currently paying it in the state that it is right now. So I know that we're not, that check is not gonna be remitted.
So is the motion to approve the bills and claims,
Except.
except for the
Yeah.
expense reimbursement request from the supervisor?
Correct.
And a second?
second.
Who is that? Sorry.
Yes.
Is that trustee Geist? That's your first? Okay.
Okay, any other discussion? And a roll call vote?
Trustee Geist?
Yes.
Trustee McGovern?
Yes.
Trustee Page?
Yes.
Trustee Robinson?
Yes.
Supervisor Hewitt?
Yes. Okay, then we're running out of time with the attorney. Does anybody want to make a motion to go to number 16?
Make a motion to go to number 16.
Second.
Thank you, trustee Geist and trustee Page, and then any discussion and the attorney,
Voice vote.
all
Yeah.
in favor?
Aye.
Okay, then the discussion and possible action on resigned employee, PTO benefits is gonna be explained by, the attorney, Ross.
Is that a voice vote on the payment of the bills?
No,
That was-
No,
that was-
they roll call.
that was a 5-0.
Yeah,
Oh, just a move. I'm sorry.
yeah,
I thought it was-
they moved to approve by 5 yes.
Out of order.
You're thinking about getting the trash out tomorrow, weren't you?
So I guess the question is if the board wants to do this in open session or you could talk about this under in closed session. It's up to you.
Well, we're not gonna discuss any specific employees, but I think that it's important for us to look at the verbiage, and the change of the verbiage, because it seems like the way that this change happened became, unfair to people who were who had more recently resigned versus people who are continuing to be employed. But I'll let you go ahead and speak.
Sure, so. In December, we'll go back. The General Assembly passed a new law, the paid leave for all workers. It requires all employees from everyone to have at least 5 days paid time off, and they define PTO, which is separate and different from vacation time
Yeah,
under the
we
wage.
understood that. Mhm.
And And that has to be done after 90 days of their employment.
Mhm.
So that's an important. And that paid time off has to be able to be used for any reason. Cannot be limited to vacation or sick or anything like that. So that's where your prior policy did not comply. For a number of reasons. One, the probation period for that was not
Yeah,
compliant.
we understood that.
Got it.
Okay.
So that's where we updated the policy in December in order to comply by the January 1st deadline. For that particular provision, we drafted and prepared the updated policy, which increased the number of days, not one complied with the minimum of the law, and then increased as the board wanted to re-put, I think, from a earlier policy, the number of days for continuous service that you would get on. But having it as PTO under the new law and not necessarily the vacation days that were done. We didn't take away anyone's previously accrued vacation days. It's not like those went away. If you had previously accrued,
But if it was reallocated from being called like a vacation day to a PTO day, then they did lose it.
no, they did not. Then moving forward, you accrue PTO. If you had vacation days, those are still there. And if you had vacation days when you left the employment, or if you wanted to be paid out at the year end or whatever, you have that right. That is your right to do. It's just moving forward, those are PTO days. You have more of them, you can use them for any reason with frankly less notice to the township. And basically any reasonable type of notice. And that's the state law. So that was the change in that. So no one lost anything. It was more just moving forward. Nothing about it was retroactive. So I think that's where some of the confusion was. People thought it immediately went into effect to go backwards to people's prior anniversary dates and increase their days or something like that. And that's not at all what it was supposed to do. It was moving forward so that at the next anniversary date, you would accrue the new amount of time as PTO days. And furthermore, if there was a new hire, they would have, after 90 days, automatically get the 5 days of time.
It seems like we made an inequitable move by doing that, though.
I don't know. Everybody
Is there
ask, I mean,
anybody in the
it's up-
audience would care to speak to this? Is there anybody else who care to speak to this?
So is it state law that we did what we did?
Yeah, we had
I'm
to
not
come into
questioning law.
compliance. Yeah.
I'm not questioning state law, and I
Yeah,
certainly wouldn't want you to go against state law. I'm questioning, did we make the right decision to make sure we were protecting our current employees and employees who voluntarily resign?
I mean, in December, the board and its legal counsel can't know or wouldn't be knowing that someone's leaving or what,
I
like
mean,
that's,
we wouldn't have known. I mean, we
Right.
have ideas because so many people had left, so we could have expected that.
but like, that's not,
But we,
that's a policy decision.
Mhm.
I wouldn't recommend planning that way that you wanna encourage people to leave,
we're
right?
trying
Like,
to- we're trying to keep
so-
people.
so that's why-
Yeah.
And that's why increasing the number of days off is good, right? It is, that was giving that bump up, and once the anniversary date comes back around, you get more time off. That was kind of the goal.
You want to,
The thing
could
that.
you please speak? I'm sorry. Do you have
The
any
thing-
thoughts?
My thought is, in interpreting the handbook, because that's what I had to do.
That's the discrepancy.
The handbook still talks about personal time, sick
Right.
time, and how to accrue those days, bereavement and everything else. You just singled out the vacation time, and the thing with the PTO is, say somebody has a January anniversary date and they get their 12 days, after having the whatever. If that person decides to leave during the year and doesn't take out, say, maybe 5, this person only gets, say she, because it's mostly she's, 5 days of vacation time and then doesn't come back or decides to resign, there's a whole 7 days that she's just out of it because you guys don't pay that, see, that's not explained to any of the employees when you guys did this and made it PTO. So you might as well just, I mean, if that was your intent.
I don't think that was our intent.
Well,
I don't think we understood that that was possible. Go
If I
ahead.
may, before Mr. Head, just this doesn't touch, there's people still accrue sick time and any other time. That's separate. Those are separate benefits. This was specifically because vacation time is most similar to PTO time under the new law. So that's what this was, that it is enhancing and changing it so that you can use this PTO time, which was vacation time for any reason, for it, and that's really what it's.
You're recognizing me? Thank you. I appreciate that.
You were.
I wasn't sure
staring
when
at me, yeah.
Ross was done. Highway Commissioner Young.
Are you suggesting that somebody wasn't paid because the policy was changed, but the policy wasn't announced?
It's
To the
not
employees?
clear in the handbook.
Did the employees get notice of the change? Before,
They got notice that it happened, but they didn't get the notice of what PTO meant. They thought it was vacation time, just like it stated in the handbook right before. So PTO means you don't get time off you don't get payout if you don't use it all. I mean, before, they started it at the front, and then if you don't use it, you're just out, that's all. And I don't think that's understood by.
How do you handle it?
And that's
Trustee
state law.
Page.
That is state law. So now, if a company wants to call something paid time off. And like we have an employee that works
we've been,
for X amount and then that employee resigns, the company does not have to pay it out anymore?
If it's paid time off,
Right?
that's correct.
Wow, that's the state of Illinois?
Yeah.
Wow.
And vacation time is defined separately, it's a different
So
thing.
is it just a twist of the phrase, if you just change from PTO, because if the handbook states that you already have enough days off for the employees, you meet that PTO standard, right?
That's the problem, though, because that discrepancy exists, I think that when we have a discrepancy and it's not clear, I think that the error is on our part. And that we should honor. We should take care of our employees. And I think we learned from it and we fixed the language in the handbook so that we don't have that problem again.
And the same thing with the exempt status.
Yeah, the handbook is a problem, right? Can we agree to that?
Yeah.
So it's
oh,
a
yeah.
discrepancy.
handbook
We're
is a huge
following
problem.
state law
And we approved it.
and we approved
We
it.
did.
We trust me, we've
I
really
know.
learned our mistakes
We
on
did.
that one. But I think because of that discrepancy, I think that the trustees should seriously consider honoring what was not paid, but let's change the language in the handbook. Let's revisit this so that we don't have this problem moving forward. We cannot have these inconsistencies. I don't think we intended to be inconsistent right, but we were.
So, and. Yeah, I mean, whatever the board wants to do, it's more of there's also in the particular case at issue.
Mhm.
Under many of the different scenarios and interpretations that you
Sure.
could possibly do.
Sure.
The overall conclusion that was come to is still the same. It doesn't change the overall outcome because. The time that was approved was
We
mainly.
took better care of employees that we let go of, who were here for a shorter period of time. I mean, as a trustee, I think we made a mistake. I think we made a mistake in what the discrepancy between the policy and between the change in honoring the law and the handbook. And I think, and because we were not transparent and fully informative with the employees of what that would look like, I think we should own that. We should do the right thing and we should correct it so that we are on point moving forward. That's just my recommendation.
And this is what was passed is
We already know what
literally,
was passed.
what was.
We don't wanna talk,
Take
we already,
time off.
we're owning it.
No
We're
circles
owning
tonight.
it. We don't wanna do circles tonight. It's too late. It's 9:20. So we know what we made a mistake. Or I don't, it doesn't be a mistake, but it was an oversight. Let's fix it. Let's do the right thing. And then let's fix it so that it's right moving forward.
trustee Robinson,
Appreciate all the discussion. So the consensus of the board is that the policy, the handbook should be changed to be clearer. And there should be better explanation for employees as to what that implication is, right?
And correcting the situation that is
I-
existing without going to that route.
And I think okay, I'm not as comfortable with that. I would like to discuss that in executive session if we can. But those first two, I agree with you completely.
so again, the handbook was changed by the last ordinance, and this ordinance was sent to every employee with the detailed language. Clerk Polowitz,
Isn't there a requirement that the handbook only gets changed like in the first 3 months of the year? So what does that mean for us?
This was to ensure that the handbook complied by the January 1st deadline. I mean, so that was,
because state law changed.
No, I understand, but did we change, we were saying we did not change the handbook.
the ordinance in December changed one section of the handbook.
And that's
Yeah.
fine because it would be within the first 3 months. But if there, I believe that's the case, that it's 3 months. So, I mean, we're in February now, so if there's changes to the handbook, it needs to happen now, right? I'm not wrong about this, right? Isn't it 3 months? Yeah. I thought
I'm not sure off the top of my head, if the
Okay.
manual says that, then again, the
I
board
believe
can
it
also
is.
just change that part, of the manual if it really wanted to, but,
I mean, when we
Well,
changed
I
the
think-
handbook before,
yeah.
we changed the handbook before. I don't think we did.
Well, I'll look at it, but I don't think it's our manual that says that. I think it's, I'm thinking it's it has to be in the state mandates here.
May I ask our other entities how they handle this discrepancy? Because obviously it's gonna come up for you.
We're talking about when you take office, in the first 90 days, you have to develop a policy. 3 months that you're describing,
When you take office, okay,
it has to be done within that time.
Okay.
but what about every year? It's not I thought it needs to be looked at every year. But, okay,
I'm pretty sure that every year we need to update it to state law is where it was at. Okay, are we,
So do we need to make a motion?
trustee Robinson?
Do we need to make a motion to amend the policy or our handbook? And also have a reintroduction or an education session with employees?
So there was didn't you write a memo that was, or you were planning to write a memo to employees to help explain the policy?
Why are we
Yeah.
using legal counsel to do that instead of the township administrator? I mean,
No, I
Ross, you
understand.
are perfectly amazing. I get that. But we have a township administrator that we're paying, they should send out memos to employees.
And I'm sure they do. At the same time, this is a legal issue that I thought, either way, however you all wanna explain it to the employees so that it's clear.
If I'm, I mean, just, it, either way, whatever the board wants to do, however, if there's gonna be changes, should wait and explain those changes after, and I'm sure the township administrator is very capable. I'm happy to
Great,
assist as needed,
Great.
whatever.
thank you.
Okay. And if there's more discussion, we can do that in executive session.
Yeah.
Okay.
If we're gonna go into executive session, just so I know, just so as we're going in, I wanna know what they're, Ms. Ruby, did you understand this policy? So you understand, okay,
Now.
Now today, you, okay. Okay, so see, it's still, yeah, so we definitely have some work to do.
Yeah, yep, I agree. We want to make sure everyone's fully cognizant, treat our employees well, all that. So I didn't know if I needed to, but I did make a motion, so
Second,
thank you.
Okay.
What was
Would you
that
repeat
motion?
What's,
the motion?
what was, it was that we will amend the policy, document that to reflect what the trustees want to communicate. And that between the township administrator and the attorney, township attorney, interim administrator, that will be any changes will be communicated to the employees.
Is it the changes in the handbook?
That's what I was talking,
Future
Okay.
change,
future changes, right?
yes.
So
Because
are
I-
you
yeah.
trying to amend the December 13th ordinance
Or just
2023-13, or are you asking? I'm just trying to define your motion.
I understand, thank you.
I think that, I'm sorry, do you have anything to say before I speak?
I just, for clarification, I'm understanding it as you're amending the handbook and having a meeting. Information meeting, is that correct?
That's all I wanted to get to.
Okay,
How do you want to amend them?
Well, it sounded like the trustees had some.
It's not
Yeah.
clear, right?
Right.
You recognize that it's not clear.
Yeah.
Okay,
Throughout,
So-
yeah,
in this case, I think we would need your advice on the better way to word it so that legally it is matching. Right? And there's no confusion. So I guess that is not something, obviously, we wouldn't have the administrator do that, but if you can do that, to help us with the language, correcting the language, and then he can communicate it out. Fair?
perfect.
Okay.
are you trying to amend the entire handbook or just? I'm just trying to make sure that this motion is clear.
Talking
If-
specifically about time off, PTO, vacation clarity. I'm sorry,
And the thing about the exempt versus non-exempt, that didn't fix, the exempt
Yes.
employees are the salaried employees, that didn't start till May 23rd.
That is a
Even
huge.
the lawyer here and the administrator both don't understand that people that didn't apply to the people before that.
Yeah.
Nobody understands what that means. So I think that.
in a
needs to be addressed.
concise way, can you explain to us how it is you decided who was exempt and non-exempt? Who advised you of
Because
making those
our
changes?
contract.
Heather
all
Becker.
Had hourly wages.
Heather, okay, I just want to write this down.
Heather Becker did a study and it was clear by February when former bookkeeper Rose signed her offer letter. And when all of the new people signed their offer letters, it said salaried, every single one of them. And during the study that Heather Becker, who is an employment law expert, did, the main differences between salaried and non-salaried is that the hourlies have to do mostly, there's different types of skill sets that are required in hourlies. For example, the reason why the director of the food pantry in particular, and the drivers, they're all doing manual labor. There's certain skill sets that are exempt from being hourly. And so that study was done.
But you didn't consult with your board about making those changes, and you did, if you make someone a job offer, you can't change them from a salary to an hourly employee because Heather Becker recommended that that was the practice without any discussion.
The thing was that the Heather Becker said that actually they were all salaried the entire time. And it was a misinterpretation of what salaried versus hourly was. And so that's exactly the legal opinion of the employment attorney. She said that the entire time they were salaried.
So
So
why is there a punch clock in the lunchroom?
for the hourlies,
Who decided that those people were hourly?
again, Heather Becker went through and did a study as to who was exempt and who was non-exempt.
This was a problem under our former attorney too. She pointed out that the change was a problem, so this is something. that
When
needs to
she
get
said it was a
worked.
problem, did she explain?
I have no clue about the conversation other than it was a problem.
So these,
So I-
go ahead.
But in the handbook, when you're exempt, you have a year-long probation according to that handbook.
That's got to change.
Yeah, so that's
See?
where things are getting,
Right.
they're saying that the admin and the lawyer were saying there's some confusion about how time was taken last year, even though somebody from Connor and Gallagher told some of the employees that they were treated as how they were hired. So that's all I'm saying. And then any new person that it comes on as a exempt person will have to wait a year before, have a year of probation before they get.
A year of probation?
That's what it
before-
says in the manual.
Whose idea was that?
Trustee Robinson.
So we'd already talked about two actions.
Sorry.
And no, please, yeah, that's good discussion. The handbook, we talked about only changing the PTO and the time off. Do we have to have a better explanation of what exempt means as well?
So
Yeah,
Yes.
exempt and non-exempt and how that applies,
salary and hourly, yeah.
right, okay.
What I'll do is be interpreted within the motion. If this is acceptable, we'll send it, have, obviously all the trustees input, but you can do personnel committee if you wanted to do that.
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
go to the personnel committee, and I think we should schedule a meeting with Heather. So we understand why she made those choices. And that I want to understand why she made that advice to the supervisor.
Okay, so there was a second to the motion, correct?
Yes.
Was there?
Mhm.
Okay,
And then we're still in discussion, then any other discussion? And then a roll call vote.
Trustee Robinson?
yes.
Trustee Geis?
Yes.
Trustee McGovern?
Yes.
Trustee Page?
Yes.
Supervisor Hewitt?
Yes. Okay, we understand that Ross needs to go.
We want to finish this item and then,
You're leaving?
yeah, so.
Can we have a discussion about 18 and about?
We did it, we,
18 already.
18.
We moved it up already.
we did
17. You
18.
went 17.
I'm sorry,
17.
17.
Oh, I was, sure.
I'll make a
15,
motion to move
15.
17 up.
15.
What is,
Yeah. Is that what you wanted?
which one do you want to discuss first?
15, I don't get.
So let's do 15 first.
I'm sorry, there's a first, trustee Page.
So I'll make the second motion to move all the agenda items.
So 15 and then 17.
Yes.
Okay, and all in favor?
I.
Trustee Robinson.
Yeah, no, I appreciate everyone's time. I think 15 is very important to talk about. I know we had a process that we had laid out and we've invested considerable funds into finding that process. And I have not been involved at all since Monday, but my understanding is that that process didn't evolve the way we expected. And that we may, and so we have to know what to do next, right? The bid
I
process.
think so, and I think the trustees, somebody should explain the process that occurred with the bid opening. I don't think that's in my.
Who was here? Is anybody?
So
who was
I
here?
was present
we
with,
were there.
I was the only trustee present.
And council was involved as well.
No.
You called me.
We called him. We had.
Well,
You called me on the phone.
He also talked to Diane throughout the day about what she could do, whether she could send those bids, whether request for bids.
Well, let's explain what happened.
Okay, so I
No,
held
yeah.
I held the bid, right, the bidding process. So, there was a total of 6 bids. When we came, there was really only 1 bid available. So we opened that right at 4 o'clock and, it was
Two.
for.
Wasn't
No,
there 2 there?
no, when we first was there, there was
Oh,
1 bid and we opened that. And then I'm sorry, Supervisor Hewitt came in and she brought 5 other bids. One that she brought in, along with the one that I had opened, was delivered properly. One came through the mail, it looked like overnight. It was all done properly. It had all the paperwork that it seems like it should have. It's going to be reviewed, and then the other one was brought before 4 o'clock and hand delivered, but it too had sealed bid on the front, fit the requirements. The other 4 were just in manila envelopes. They happened to be ones that ended up being a company that the supervisor called and asked them to place bids on 4 different refrigerated trucks. And then from there, then it was emailed And then the supervisor filled everything out for the bidding. In fact, her name was there as, as the authority that, for this bidding, and, Ruby notarized her signature onto it. When we looked at all the bids, notwithstanding that issue, when we looked at all the bids, each one of them was for a truck that was over 26,000 pounds. When you look back at what are, what did I say? No, 26, no,
All
all
of
the
them
bids that
were.
we received,
26,000.
all the
Bid
bids,
said 24,000.
and that's what I'm saying. So all the bids that we received were for trucks that were right around 26,000 square feet. I'm such a realtor, square pounds. However, when we did the request for bid, we requested everything that was 24,000 or less. So that would in itself kind of eliminate all these bids. So that's kind of the history to it. We came out of there with the recommendation of, we felt that there was, the four bids probably invalidated the whole process, because we found out that there was some, the supervisor ended up knowing what the other sealed bids were before they were even open. So we just kind of questioned the whole thing. But given the fact that we also learned from Attorney Seckler that you as trustees could waive any kind of discrepancies, correct?
Yeah.
And that's what I kind of got from you.
And we don't have to follow bid process if we choose not to.
So,
If-
so the recommendation
Or-
at the end of it, that we all said was maybe because the bids that came in were not, they were not, as what we requested. Maybe we possibly reject all of them. And then this is something that we probably don't need to go out to bid for, so we could go shop for it.
What were the bids? Did you suggest to to Supervisor Hewitt that those could be acceptable? Or would be acceptable?
I didn't see the bid. I said, one, I'm not going to talk about privileged conversation with you or in public, but the advice was not about what those bids actually were. It was about a general process, and that if the board, if bids were submitted by email, that and submit, and then and if they were submitted by email, and the board could waive that the requirement of being in some sort of envelope, that was really it. That
It wasn't that she solicited the bids. I mean, asked specifically for those vehicles.
no,
Would that, in your professional opinion, would that be okay?
it, I mean, I don't think so. No,
Okay.
I mean, that, not in this type of process. So giving an invite to bid is different from,
Asking for a
you know,
quote.
say, giving out the
fee.
bid package and saying,
Yeah.
here, please, I'm inviting you to bid.
Yeah.
It's different. And
Let me ask you another, I mean, I think we all understood through this process that the supervisor was looking for a used truck. So, no, you disagree with that?
I think the bid package said new and
Right.
used.
But
So
I
that's-
don't think that was true.
Well-
I mean, she said she couldn't afford it. That was discussed throughout all of the
Which
discussions.
was a new truck
I
for
recall
$200,000.
That a new truck wasn't feasible, period. Is that right, Supervisor Hewitt?
We were getting the bids and all of the money from a grant, and we had not, again, we had already submitted the grant monies, and I didn't think that a new truck was feasible.
So
much
that's
was the
several
grant?
times, did you not?
Mhm.
Okay,
So how much was the grant though?
We ended up receiving $109,000 grant in
The
total.
first two bids were $200,000.
Mhm.
yeah, it wasn't gonna be feasible to buy a new truck. Everybody knew, it. It's all discussed at this meeting several times. Why would you tell her to go out to bid?
One, I was not told that it was gonna be only for a used truck, which hasn't existed. I was not.
Well, if you were at the meeting, I think you should have paid attention.
Well, Mr. Highway Commissioner, I respectfully disagree. I'm not gonna get into it with you, and I'm not your lawyer. I'll talk to her. It's not appropriate. But,
Sorry, do you want to say something else?
no, I don't.
Trustee Robinson.
So where do we go from here?
So Jim has offered that when he comes back from vacation to manage the process that you all want to do. And to shop for the vehicle that you all want.
Yeah, during the bid process, I just did a simple Google search. It was actually, I was surprised how many used refrigerator trucks are within 20 miles of here. And so I shared that link with Supervisor Hewitt and Mr. Marino, Jim Marino. And I mean, there were many trucks in the 30,000, within the 35 to $52,000 range that were within 3 to 5 years old. And right here in Melrose Park and in Huntley, so we could get a refrigerated truck really fast within the dollar amount of our
And the size, too.
Grant.
We have to stay with.
and the size, that because it has to be under 26,000 GVW, or the driver has to have a CDL license, and our driver does not have that, and we want to keep our driver, so.
There are 4 drivers.
So the motion.
And the 4
is-
drivers don't have a CDL, whether
Correct.
it's 1 driver, 2 drivers, 8 drivers, 20 drivers, they don't have a CDL.
Correct.
And so we don't have that, and we don't want our drivers to have a problem, so that's why just so you guys understand, the truck has to be under 26,000 GVW. I'm not
And
sure why that was pertinent, but.
Trustee Robinson.
So we do have a go forward position. We will have our interim township administrator administrate a process of searching for a truck
Yeah.
which meets our requirements
Yeah.
from size and cost, and we do have, I believe, approval for funding. So, and we have to execute, I believe, subject to the terms of the funding by the end of April.
April 30th.
And I just also think I would like to add to that, in the future, when we're in a situation where we're seeking something and we're not getting the bids we need, I understand why Supervisor Hewitt did what she did by reaching out to people and saying, hurry, get me this now last Friday. But I think that's a great opportunity to utilize this network that we have here. You have the highway commissioner who has resources. I think we could have really tapped into his ideas. I mean, I did a quick Google search and found that Penske used trucks has plenty of them.
Right.
But I just think we need to be a little more like, instead of just, only thinking one way, maybe think another way and opening ourselves up to using our experience resources and even reaching out to the board and say, hey, I'm not getting bids. What are your recommendations? Hey, I would have said, talk to Ed, or I would have said, let's do a quick just Google search. I think we just need to be more solution oriented.
So does somebody want to make a motion
Do
to?
we need a motion?
You should. I would
Highway
rec-
Commissioner Young,
I would suggest you reject all the bids.
that's what's about to happen.
Yeah.
Right, and then if you could coalesce around about a dollar amount you want to spend. Of how much out of that grant money you want, and then assign the administrator, say, give them a 10 or 15 or $20,000 range,
Mhm.
and say, go evaluate what you can get.
And leaving room for maintenance for any challenges that may come up with the vehicle, so we have some
You
money
want-
to,
Yeah,
right?
just give
So-
them a range of what amount of money you're.
Well,
We
if
might
it's-
not be able to do the range till we learn a little bit more about the ARPA and the requirements that they're putting around it.
So we
Yeah.
gave them 2 numbers and they approved the bids that we had, the numbers that we had submitted. 81,050 was one of them and the other one was, and it's the same one. And we're running out of time with our attorney.
All right, so I'll make a motion to reject all the bids.
I'll second.
And then any other discussion, and
I
then a roll call
just
vote.
wanted to add into there, I think that was a very poor decision on your part, Supervisor Hewitt, to have your name placed on any of the bids. I think you put us in a potential vulnerable position. Just the sense of impropriety that your names were on bids. If we would have accepted something of one of those, we could have possibly been in trouble. So I just, you really do need to be more careful and think what you're doing through.
I was following the direction of council.
So you told her to sign off. So Attorney Seckler saying that he did not tell you to sign on the, fill out the bids or sign it.
Oh,
And
wait
you're
a
saying
minute.
you did.
No, you're not gonna dismiss this.
No, I'm not gonna dismiss.
We're
this.
not gonna dismiss this. You can't just go, okay, moving along. No, you can't keep doing that, Diane. The
You just
public needs
lied.
to hear, the
That's-
public needs to see what's consistent here is your inconsistency.
So I had a privileged conversation with council about the process of going through those bids and what I was emailed and how to do that. Is that the case, Ross?
Be careful with them.
Well, that's not a
I
no.
think
Yes,
it's
they have a
out of the
conversation.
privilege conversation when we had bids that had your name on it and you just said that
He
the
told you to do that.
attorney told you to do that.
Perhaps the trustees should go in executive session with the council. Since they're your client as well, he can discuss what he said.
I moved to go to executive session.
Wait, not even.
Yeah.
Sorry.
This is something I'm happy to discuss later, but I am going to leave, so
Okay.
it just, you know,
We can just,
I mean,
we
and you can
just-
discuss, so I'm just saying, I'm happy
That's
to
fair.
discuss, I mean,
That's fair.
and I'm happy
We
to
can talk-
discuss
we can talk
individually
tomorrow. Yeah.
with each of you,
That's
that's
fine,
not a
but
problem.
I just need you to
I'm just
answer one
letting-
question on your exit.
Sure,
Did you advise the supervisor Hewitt to fill out any of those bid forms? that
not
came
the
by-
bid.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
I'm so sorry that the supervisor just told an untruth about you, but now people are gonna start to see what it feels like. Let's move along.
Well, we need
So
roll
we had
call.
you have a motion to reject all bids.
In a
Is
second.
there,
Who
in a
was the
second,
Okay.
is there,
She lied about her.
would there be something,
You all just heard it.
What-
would
what's
there
that?
be something in that motion to then further direct the township administrator, or do you want that as a
I
separate?
was gonna make that as a separate
Okay,
motion.
I just wanted to make sure that, yeah.
Your choice of whether they.
Okay, is there a roll call vote?
You want one?
Yes, on this,
Yes.
I'm canceling the bids, or rejecting all the bids.
Okay, trustee Robinson?
Yes.
Trustee Page?
Yes.
Trustee McGovern?
Yes.
Trustee Geist?
Yes.
Supervisor Hewitt?
Yes.
I'll make another motion to have our interim township administrator manage throughout to bid or solicit information.
I don't think we
Not,
have-
sorry, I misspoke. You're right. Thank you.
Job.
He's
He's just gonna do his
She's gonna
job.
find a truck for us. She's gonna find a truck for us. With,
I'll s-
with the 81,000, I think is a number, if we want to set a number.
Well, do
I
whatever.
don't think we
but
should
do
say
whatever.
81,000.
Yeah.
Because we wanna leave room for any repairs and maintenance that may happen with the used vehicle. I don't think we should go for the max.
Okay.
I, from what I saw on the list that I
You've
saw,
looked at it, so what do you?
yeah, I thought you very easily could do this for under $60,000.
I would see what he could find.
But let's see what you can find.
It's like $60,000.
Yeah.
Right? Give him guidance to look for
Let's start there.
a used truck for $60,000.
I'll second the motion.
We don't even notion, he's just gonna do his job.
No,
And
I think.
You can also
Don't
just,
we?
Trustee
I would
Geist,
recommend including a finding that
Trustee
this,
Robinson made a
this
motion.
is an exempt purchase from competitive bidding
yeah.
pursuant to section
Oh,
30-51 of the township
So
code.
it's not compatible.
It's not a when I say competitive bidding, meaning these formal bidding process, make a finding with that motion that this is an exempt
Yes,
purchase.
okay, thank you. Thank you for your time this evening.
I think you're gonna have to roll call vote.
Okay,
I think she did it. No, not for the
No,
second one.
not yet.
Not for the second motion part.
okay, any other discussion and a roll call vote?
Trustee Robinson?
Yes.
Trustee Page?
Yes.
Trustee McGovern?
Yes.
Trustee Geist?
Yes.
Supervisor Hewitt?
Yes. Okay, moving on to usage of accounting and legal funds to investigate the highway commissioner's office. And again, as I'm sure has been mentioned several times, accountant Nader gave me a opinion that there was an irregularity in the funds that were being paid out. And
Was that
so
right?
Wait, say that again. I'm sorry. What was paid up? Irregular
an irregularity.
in what?
And so,
In what?
Funds.
and so
In the highway fund?
in
Yes, we're discussing that.
More
payouts.
specific.
And so she decided that after speaking to the attorney, that there needed to be an investigation.
Oh.
And that's what happened.
So
So you
this is
have investigated my
interesting.
office?
I have not, no. That's
So
not-
this is,
So who,
no, she said Attorney Nader suggested.
Yeah.
So here's our question, Supervisor Hewitt, because I think that this is really important. You know, what's interesting is there anything in writing that speaks to this? From Accountant Nader?
I can,
Because my understanding is that you asked her to look for discrepancies that were happening in the books of the Highway Commissioner's office.
so again, if
So
you want to
crazy,
hear more
totally
from,
different story,
if you
I
want to
know.
hear more from Accountant Nader and Attorney Wysocki, then they would be the ones to,
I think we should.
okay.
I'm sorry, did I hear you Supervisor Hewitt say that the attorney was investigating it?
No,
that what
it
I-
was not the attorney that was
The account-
investigating it.
who
They
was-
were
Just the
speaking
accountant.
to the attorney.
They were
about
speaking
it.
to the attorney.
the
And
accountants?
are you saying that the attorney suggested to the accountant to investigate?
Yes,
You,
Not-
me.
no, it was
have not.
Attorney Wysocki.
Okay, I wanna make sure we all, this is
Okay.
all
Listen,
Attorney Wysocki
and it wasn't.
advised you.
Not against you.
Attorney
I-
Wysocki, as your counsel, advised you that due to the discrepancies, I wanna get this right, due to the discrepancies discovered by Accountant Nader, that there should be an investigation.
Yes,
Okay,
did it go?
And where, was an investigation conducted?
I believe it was, but I
Did
never
you get
got a
the
report.
results? You never get a report?
Never got a report.
Never got a report.
Mhm.
did you at any point find issue with Accountant Nader for not finding what you were looking for in the investigative process, and then find it challenging to work with her after that?
No, Accountant Nader never provided a lot of the things that we were looking for on a timely manner.
With all of the
So
things, with all
including
due respect, with
reports,
all of the
including
things that we have in our.
any of the
personal-
details
With
of
all of the
cleaning up
things that we
things.
have in our purview as as township supervisor and trustee, with all of the things we have in our purview, why would that be one of them?
And
I couldn't
is
hear
it
that question.
legal
There's a lot
for the township to be investigating the highway commissioner, the road district's funds? I know they're the treasurer, but I mean, they could do their internal investigation if they screwed up, but is it legal for them to be investigating the road district?
I mean, I guess it depends on what what you mean by investigation. Is it looking at reconciling
It sounds
accounts?
like a forensic audit.
Well,
I don't know. We don't know what, if anything, what the county did, or, we don't know. So
Why
It's
would we
more of a-
ask them to do that, though?
you know what I'm
we
saying?
didn't
Like, if it's about looking at the accounts as treasurer and paying out, reconciling things, sure, you look into it. And and then you would ask questions about, well, is this off, or is this,
but the
But-
township is the treasurer.
right?
So that would be they're investigating themselves. They're not really investigating the highway commissioner.
What now,
No,
let me ask you, can I ask you a quick
Yeah.
question? If in fact, Accountant Nader never said that, would the supervisor be subject to some legal exposure?
It never said what?
There was irregularities in the road district.
What legal exposure?
Well, she's just saying that somebody said that there was irregularities in the road district. And if that wasn't true, I mean, that cast aspersions on the district commissioner. And I suppose the treasurer. But then if it's a falsehood, is there legal repercussions for the falsehood being stated in public like that?
Not at a public board meeting.
No.
No, there's an exemption.
Why is this on the agenda tonight?
I added it.
So you found out
It's on a bill.
oh,
Well, that was about the bonuses.
Right.
so,
Oh, that's a different, that's why I wanted you there.
Yeah, that was, yes. But that is part of it. I mean, that is. So on the bill, it was itemized that there was discussion with the attorney about whether it was legal for you to issue your staff bonuses.
Right, that's a completely different issue. This one, we're gonna have a discussion about this, and I wanna see anything in writing that she sent you. I wanna see things from the attorney that she sent you.
Okay,
Because you better prove what you just said.
okay,
You understand that?
Yep.
The
Trustee-
issue that Autumn Geist, Trustee Geist was raising is when I issued my year-end bonus. I had issued a year-end bonus to my employees, depending upon the performance of the road district every year that I've been highway. I sent a note to bookkeeper Rose and copied the supervisor requesting certain checks be cut for certain employees and have them ready Wednesday before the Christmas week. I called bookkeeper Rose on Wednesday. I said, where's the checks? She says, they're on Diane's desk waiting to be signed. I called Diane, she goes, I won't sign them until I get approval from the attorney. So I called the attorney and he called me back after the close of business. And when he did, my response was, I really didn't need a phone, so. But, she has no business stopping legitimate checks being issued. There's two questions that need to be answered. Is there money there in the budget? Is a legitimate business expense? That was. She overrode that and said, well, I don't know, despite having signed those checks the year before.
So it feels
She was
spiteful.
interfering in road
It
district
feels spiteful.
operations
Yeah. Feels spiteful.
out any of them. That's what that.
Because we don't have enough on our phone.
I wanted to make sure that it was legal. And
Signed
as the
year before.
treasurer, again,
Are you suggesting that previous supervisor Mary Jo Muscle was doing something illegal?
it's very uncommon for any governmental
Doesn't matter
entity
whether
to
it's
get.
government. Are you suggesting that what she was doing was illegal?
I wanted to ensure that what I was doing was legal.
Okay.
Did you sign them the year before?
Yes,
Were they legal the year before?
again, I wanted to ensure that everything that
We
I
had-
was doing
We
was
just
one
had a
hundred
second
percent.
check that we had to have voided issued to you. We're gonna have two
Right.
checks issued to you.
Right.
You've cashed two checks issued to you in the same amount in the past, but you don't see any issue with that legality, but you want to investigate our highway commissioner's practices with his staff because he takes care of his people. Is it just that hard for you to see that people respect him and enjoy working for him and he doesn't have turnover and that people do such a good job for him that he wants to reward them? Is that so hard to believe?
It is very unusual for a governmental entity. to
Lots of
give
things
both
that you do are
checks.
unusual, like lying about your attorney in his presence, but let's move along. What
Well,
were you gonna say?
that also was about the check that we pulled, that you tried to get repayment of it a second time, but the accountant caught it. So you sent the invoice in twice to get paid $2,000 twice.
No, what
Yeah.
he had was two
Yeah,
different
right?
copies.
No,
No,
Um,
he had two different, and
no,
you will
that's not what
happily
happened. We
tell
were in the
this.
audit.
Okay.
There was two different copies of a receipt. One was the original and one was the copy from Willowbrook Ford.
We had.
There was one signed request for reimbursement, one. Jim thoroughly signed one. There was just two copies of the same check, of
Okay,
the same receipt.
well, you should. we
One
should
was
talk-
an
we
original,
should talk-
We were told
And
differently.
one was,
We were
Both
told,
checks got cashed. did they
we,
not?
No,
No, this is
No,
a
no,
separate.
what we got caught
This
and
is
and voided.
a second invoice went in to get reimbursed for the $2,000. And they said,
It
no,
was not
we
a
already
second-
paid it.
reimbursement, so it was not another form. There was only one form for reimbursement.
Participated in the audit of expenditures and there were two requests. So anyway, that's neither here nor there, I guess, because it doesn't really matter what we think or believe. It doesn't matter what we share because there's a spin on everything, so.
Trustee McGovern,
I would like to request an agenda action item, that we have a system to request legal and that we have, a two-way authentication to approve that, because I would like to end these discussions
Yes.
and rebuttals over budget money that is spent so frivolously over issues that I just don't think are that existent.
Well, we're spending a lot with the attorney.
We're
and
spending a whole lot.
Last
with their
December,
attorney.
I kind of got a little correction for having a conversation with an attorney in the spend, even within this board. And yet people are spending a lot of time talking to the attorney. What is the attorney rate an hour again? I'm sorry.
225.
$2.25. Do you know that he just bid in Niles Township for $185?
190. Just to be, sorry.
Our former attorney was tasked with researching the same thing. So different attorney, you think you're gonna get a different answer? I don't know, but you're wasting funds going after something that you think is there that is not there. Whether or not you agree with what he does is not illegal, so it's not your business.
It was in 2022 that question was asked.
That question was just on the legal bill last month. That you asked that question of our current attorney, you asked that same question of our former attorney.
Do you have the, do we have? We don't.
That was
know.
just on the bill.
It was. That's why it came up as a question.
Yeah.
So it's
Our tax.
possible, here's the thing, Supervisor Hewitt, it's possible, it's impossible to remember every single thing that happens. No one's holding your hand to the fire to remember every single thing that happens, but you cannot continue to deny what happens. And at some point, if you just forgot, then just say, I forgot. I'm human. I made a mistake. I forgot. I sat here and said I made a mistake at the beginning of this meeting. I apologize for raising my voice. I apologize for not being, I'm a good human being.
Oh,
If I do say so
Sorry,
myself.
I didn't mean to.
If I do say so myself.
To laugh.
And I have not been the best version of myself for the last 2 years because of these kinds of situations. It gets so hard. I don't think people understand, we sat through 58 meetings last year.
And then,
58 meetings
and then executive sessions and
Yeah.
on top of that.
because of this chaos. It's just this, it's like, we've got another year to go. Let's make this year clean. Let's do things right.
Agree.
Let's be communicative. Stop throwing your board to the wolves of your people. You know, let's just start trying to get it right. I'm tired of this. I'm exhausted by it, to be honest with you. And maybe that's your goal. Maybe you're hoping I'll just get so tired, I'll throw my hands up in the air, but guess what? Not a quitter. So, here I sit. Trustee Robinson.
I was just
Trustee
gonna,
Robinson, I
that-
know you want to be supervisor.
Who wants me
That's
to do-
why you're asking, trying to get me to quit.
Oh,
Okay,
oh,
Trustee Robinson.
You politicized
I
this
know.
boardroom
Oh,
slow.
I just sat here and said,
That's not
try
what
to
it's
move forward, and that's what she throws out. She
Oh,
can't even help herself. I just try to be positive.
Trustee Robinson.
sorry, I'm not taking anything away from the discussion. It's 10 o'clock. I make a motion that we postpone discussion on item number 9. Which is about
Yes, yep, I second the motion.
wait, wait,
I thought we already,
That's
Republic
for
Trash. This is Republic Trash Services.
oh,
Yeah.
okay,
Second
yeah,
that.
go.
All
So,
in favor?
Aye.
but could we slow down just for a
Yeah,
minute? It was a motion by
Right.
trustee Robinson and a second by
McGovern.
I want to.
McGovern
No, you
to
didn't.
postpone,
or defer to the next meeting.
defer. Okay,
Number
and
nine.
that's number,
Number 9.
That's
Number 9.
not how it works.
are you,
No, that's not how it works.
are you
That's
asking
okay.
for,
Okay, we can do a roll call vote.
no, I would just like to
You
say
vote for me?
something.
Please.
Could
Those are
Supervisor
public
Hewitt,
statements.
could you have someone from the township here give us all the information about Lakeshore? We'd like to know what we're paying, what service there is, so we could start reading up on that now. So if we do a proposal, a bid, or if we start looking at some others, even if we get a proposal from them, we know what we're doing. Could we get that, let's say, within 2 weeks?
Sure.
Is that fair enough?
Sure, and information from Public Trash Services.
You have, I'm sorry, you have information from Republic as well?
And we will give you the information from Public Trash Services.
Okay, so I mean, can we, is 2 weeks, what's the date? That would be the 21st? Is that
That's
fair
one-
enough? Oh, wait, oh, that's 1 week.
28th,
And then
yours,
28th
sure.
after that, okay, February 28th, we're gonna have Republic and Lake Shore,
Like, LRS.
Right.
yes. Information, what they cost, what service they provide.
Yeah.
Also, if there's been any negative, you know, if there's anything negative about Lake Shore, because we've had them now for a couple of years, please let us know that too, like if people complain, you know, or anything like that.
So all
Okay.
information would have positives, negatives, details, and all that, including Republic.
Yes.
Okay. So going back to the original agenda, item number 10 is the supervisor's report. And we have the food pantry distributed food to 725 families in January.
Can we just
There
read
were-
this on our own so we can keep? moving
Because I
quickly?
actually have some things that you're gonna probably need to hear. A meeting from Northern Illinois Food Bank was necessary to finish off payment for the last ARPA grant for 37,500. Another will be required with Friends for Lisle Township prior to the end of the budget cycle to make sure that they're and us we are in agreement on how things are gonna be moving forward and adding that into the budget as need be. Senior service to maintain the medical lending closet, transportation program, and LIHEAP. General assistance had 25 cases. Transportation had 132 rides. One of the pieces in the transportation forum was there was a number of costs that were inaccurate. And so I wanted to make sure that, and that's coming through with making sure that we're extremely accurate in our costs. The labor numbers and the fuel numbers were not accurate. So those have been.
Changing the numbers from what you presented at the meeting, to the town.
After, and I said during the meeting that some of them looked off to me, and we have a new accountant, and we realized that, for example, the former numbers that we had been given were not accurate. So we went through and we made sure that, for example, the $2.68 that had been charged for fuel was trued up. We had different numbers for fuel. We had different numbers for labor. Those were the two pieces that were inaccurate. When it comes to pace, we have the numbers in here of the number of rides per month. You all asked for that, and here you get how many rides we had in from the Ride DuPage PACE program. So they're in that forum in that piece of information. So there were
My concern is
9,000.
that People might get a different,
Okay, can I finish my report,
might get a
sir?
different perspective if you're gonna finish the reports that weren't given.
Okay,
If you change
again.
the numbers or add stuff that wasn't at the forum, people may get a different impression of the information that's presented.
Everyone at that forum is going to get those numbers that have been amended. And again, we're going through a new accountant. And so we're making sure that a whole lot of things, as you're gonna see, have been amended. So there were 9,137 rides given in the year of 2023. Lisle Township had 81 passports last month. The recycling program is extremely successful. We average about 9 tons of waste per month. The 708 board gave some helpful financial details about the loan, which I put in the packet. Sam Mart extended their lease for 3 more years, so there will not be an extension of Lisle Township at the Sam Mart building behind the assessor's office. There were still a lot of calls about the increased tax assessment this past month. The fire department will potentially litigate against the highway department and ourselves due to Ivanhoe Avenue remaining closed. The Lisle Woodridge Fire Department. It would be very helpful to get minutes on the website. The websites have not been updated since last July.
You have them all.
No, I don't.
Do
There
you want to
were
talk about that now? or do
a
you
number
wanna
of
talk about it
amendments.
after?
And so, and I'm not the clerk, so I haven't been the person that's been in
You're
charge of
supposed to
updating.
provide me with adequate, tools to be able to do my job. We could talk about this later.
Okay,
Plus you have
Um,
them all and you have access to the website.
you have access to the website too.
I do.
Okay. That's my report. Trustee Robinson.
I'll just note one thing, that the ridership numbers on the regular PACE service seem to decrease in the months when we had increased ridership in the supplemental program. So I think that, because part of what we're trying to say, is there gonna be an offset in this? So I think that's positive. And I think as we further develop that program, expand it, hopefully that will reflect in those numbers as well.
But how much is your cost to ride and road?
Yeah.
Compared to the. And I think you're the only township that has two programs, intervention.
No, York Township does, Winfield Township does, among others. I think
Winfield-
Wayne Township does.
No, I think you're.
Winfield just got two buses from or one bus from ARPA. In
I
particular,
think
within the
Winfield
last year.
changed, but the other one, York has their own, they don't have ride and page. And Winfield, this is Winfield that has a bus that picks people up, that takes them to and from the township.
To
That's
the
all.
senior center.
They don't provide rides to the doctor.
Also, if we're picking up people outside of the township and taking them with appointments, I think that's problematic. That came out in the forum last Thursday.
That person had been, had moved into a facility and she previously had been in the township. She was in a situation for a short amount of time.
Oh, okay. Thank you
So-
for clarifying.
Anyways, it's positive. That's all I wanted to say,
Yes.
highlight that,
Agreed.
as we look at it, I think that's positive reinforcement of the supplemental program. Yeah,
Agreed.
okay, thank you.
Okay, there's a proclamation in support of Black History Month. We can read that. We can move on. We're a little behind, but proclamation recognizing National Black History Month. Whereas founded on work begun in 1926 by Carter G. Woodson to bring attention to the need for acknowledging and accurately representing Black and African American history, Black United States and Black educators laid by Woodson to found Black History Month in 1970. And beginning in 1976, every president has declared the month of February as Black History Month. And then I'm gonna move down to the bottom, whereas to be silent in voice and complacent in action, to be complicit in the inhumanity and injustice there. Now, therefore, I, Diane Hewitt, Supervisor of Lisle Township, do at this moment recognize February 2024 as National Black History Month. And I ask each one of us to listen, learn from, and about Black voices, confront and end biases and racism stoked by white supremacy, to take action to realize genuine reforms in ourselves, our community, our culture, and our institution, to abolish injustices, inequities that Black and African Americans still experience and endure today. Trustee Geist.
I am so grateful for this proclamation. Thank you so much for it. And I would like us to actually live the proclamation that we are agreeing to as the only board member sitting here, and I hate even to even say this, but it's the way that I am treated uniquely, consistently. This board votes the same unanimously, over and over again, bipartisan. And yet I am consistently harassed, singled out. My car was vandalized. I get harassing text messages. I get called a liar openly in public meetings. I don't see that happening to any other trustee here. You may be right. Maybe everybody did think that all of the board felt that way. That, we were looking to cancel the transportation program. But I was the one called a liar. I was the one singled out and fingers pointed in my face. And so I would just like us to do better, not just as Democrats, but as a community, as a people, as you, the supervisor, because I really feel like I am treated pretty uniquely on a pretty consistent basis. And if we're going to make a proclamation like this, let's be honest about it, and let's do so with integrity, not in just our thoughts, but also in our words and in our actions. Thank you.
Okay, discussion and possible action on ordinance number 2024-01, an ordinance authorizing and adopting an amended purchasing and accounts payable policy.
Well, I'll make a motion to approve ordinance number 2024-001, and ordinance authorizing and adopting amended purchasing and accounts payable policy and procedure for Lisle Township.
I'll second. And then we discuss.
And now we discuss. Clerk Powell.
So I read through it. And there's a lot of areas that still need a lot of work. This is not what we spoke about at all. This has people making purchases, not just one person, a person making purchases. If employees make a purchase that they deem to be an emergency, they have 5 days to get the documents into the supervisor or the admin. It's not labeled out that, you know, that the interim administrator, needs to sign. It's not labeled out in every section that the township administrator needs to do everything that the supervisor is supposed to do. He's supposed to sign off on everything that the supervisor is signing off on. Down to even, I don't know why the numbers weren't changed for consistencies. That doesn't seem to be a big deal, but we're talking about, you know, up to 501 or 599. Why can't it just be 499? So anything over $500 needs this, everything over $100 do this. There's quite a bit. I mean, I have some things on every page. We spoke to, you know, the Jim, and it sounded like it was there. But now reading it, there's a lot to be done. You know, like it's nothing here in shall obligate a township officer or employee to utilize a prepayment authority in lieu of seeking authorization. Well, it's not about obligating them. They shouldn't be allowed to be using their credit cards without getting the approval. As maybe, you know, and there's things of as maybe approved by the township board. It's just a lot of areas that were tightened up by what was sent to them has now loosened back up. So, I say it needs a whole lot more work. And I know you had said, approve it. I know Trustee Robinson, you said approve it and then go fix it, which I personally think that's a really bad way of doing business. And if you look at this, you're loosening up everything that you tightened up prior.
Trustee Robinson.
Well, so, you know, it wasn't a cavalier statement, pass it and then we'll change it, right? You know, we have been talking about this for 3 or 4 months. You know, we asked the new interim township administrator to look at it. He spent his time, he reviewed it, specifically with the accounting department, with our new accounting. So we got professional advice from them. He went back and he got professional advice from our township attorney as well. Fundamentally, I read it again. He and I talked, and I know you had a separate discussion as well. I feel he's incorporated everything I asked for. Well, and my and we can change it in the future is if it doesn't work. It's not just like that we're going to cavalierly say, oh, wow, let's go change this. It's let's let the policy run. And if there are issues that come up that weren't incorporated or didn't get enacted the way we expected, as a board, we always have an option to make a future change. So I really kind of want to put I kind of want to put a pin in this one. And let it run. And we've got people in place. I think there's at least 3 levels of sign off. The way I read it, at least 3 levels of sign off.
Not for everything, besides, finish what you're saying.
Well, I was going to say for the major things. I mean, and we haven't had, well, we have had emergencies. We've had the hurricane came through. I mean, there are going to be situations that come up. There is an accountability, and there's some pretty stiff penalties in here for anyone who violates the policy too, as I saw it, right? So I think we've put a bit of teeth into it. I don't think we've envisioned every potential situation that could come up. But we all and our professional staff have all put a lot of time and effort into it. Again, I'd like to put a pin in it, run with it. If we find there's egregious behavior, that could be, egregious behavior can be addressed.
We've already had egregious behavior just today. I mean, we pulled the $2,000 check because it was spent on a credit card. So
And there was
we have no accountability for anything. This is what was done before, and in here, it says that payment of up to $500 can be made, but there's no limit. So there could be 20 $500 payments in 1 month, and we have nothing to say about that, nothing.
we do, because there's
No.
approval.
No, there's not. You've given her opportunity to
follow
do
the-
that.
She's not followed anything, and so you're just putting us in a situation where the rules are not being followed already. We said stop using credit card, then that didn't work. Then we said stop using personal credit card, that didn't work. I mean, I guess at what point do we say, you know what I mean? Like, we can't keep saying, well, let's wait and see.
Well,
Let's wait and see. We're doing that, and look what's happening.
she is the supervisor, expenses are incurred, things have to be paid. We brought in an interim township administrator who's providing more visibility and more oversight. We have a new accounting team. I know there's concern about spend, but when you look at the budget, we are not over budget, except in areas like legal, and I think you've raised that maybe that should be under new business. We've got legal, we've got professional accounting, professional services. So those are the areas we gotta focus on as a board. I understand what you're saying.
But I think also there's some compromise that's already happening with some of this, especially with. We had the audit with the accountant, right, on Monday?
You auto expenses, right? Right.
Yeah. Did you talk to the accountant that evening after the audit? I'm talking to you.
Did I talk to him?
Or text.
I did text him.
About what?
How did it go?
What did he tell you? It's important.
Not too bad, but they were annoyed by those two reimbursements that you said. But other than that, I think they're okay.
We were annoyed. That concerns me that the accountant who's supposed to be representing us, the trustees, would use the word annoyed. We weren't annoyed. There was no annoyance in the
No, I was
audit.
annoyed.
We
I,
were-
I was annoyed.
No, we.
And I think I'm not gonna pick apart his language because I think it's a nice way. We were not happy to see the duplicates.
The bottom line is he's going to
I've
do
never
what
heard-
you want
correct.
him to do.
Correct.
because He's
Correct.
employed by you.
Correct.
So we have worked so hard to
Right.
tighten this up.
Yes.
So we remember, we had a credit card that had no receipts, none, maybe three. And the only time that we got the receipts is first we said, we're not paying this until you get the receipts. And you said, oh, you need receipts for the credit card? And then the state's attorney got involved and guess what? Then we got all the receipts and we have the book of them, but there was no receipts for a year and a half.
I understand.
And you're willing to allow that to happen again.
They were in a
Yes, you
folder
are, if you say
mostly
yes.
in my office.
And in your car.
They were not
and
collected by the
your
former accountant in a process that you all wish.
This is, you're the supervisor, you pay something, there has to be an invoice, there has to be a receipt. Otherwise we don't even know if everything you bought is on this
Premise.
township premises. We don't know that because there is no policy around it, there's no provisions for that. And we're starting, well, he loosened that up too, because it doesn't say that the person who checks it in is anyone different than the person who orders it. Besides the fact, there should be one purchasing person. That this is, everybody can order. Everyone's ordering, everyone's signing off. Who's keeping control of this?
We discussed this with him.
We did.
And he did
agreed,
say
but
that,
it
and he
doesn't
specifically
make it.
said deliveries, third eye on deliveries and invoice. One would request, one orders, one receives. So 3 separate people would be involved.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay, and that's not in here.
right.
There's a person who would be the designated employee, but it doesn't delineate that person should be different from the person who is the purchasing person, because there's no talk about a purchasing person. And it doesn't say that it has to be different than the person who approved it. And it's not clear that the township administrator truly has to sign off on everything. In some areas it says it is, but other areas it's not. It needs work.
It still needs work.
Trustee Robinson.
So who do we envision doing that work?
Well,
You've done it.
well,
Several
I've
times it keeps
handed
coming
it
back
a million
different.
times and
Yeah.
all we needed was for Attorney Seckler to say what parts of it may be considered illegal. So, and I'm not saying it has to be exactly like that, but it's almost nothing like that. And then what I tried to write down and you guys looked at was what was directed by the trustees. So, I mean, if if you would have, Jim Marino sit with me and work it through, we're not doing it for any other township. I get it, it's not normal, it is
We're
very
not-
stringent, there's a lot of, there's a lot of checks and balances with it. But we're at this point because of our history, and I know you don't like to talk about the history, but we're at this point because of the history, and we don't want to repeat it.
I'm in
Trustee
agreement.
Robinson.
Well, it's all about trust, right? The history, everyone's talking about the history, there's not been demonstrated trust. So we're trying to put words, frankly, onto a piece of paper that really that envision potentially every situation where a decision could be made or not made about how to order or purchase or check something in. I get it. I get what the intent is. So, I'm getting a sense from the board that they want it that tight because of the trust issues. So
We're having trust issues this evening, trustee Robinson.
I-
There was at least 5 examples of where trust has been broken. And here's the thing about trust. Let me tell you, when I was in 6th grade, my parents were really strict about grades. Oh, my mother's not watching it, but I signed a progress report for how I was going to see. And my dad found out. You know what he said to me? If you don't have trust, there's no relationship you can have with a person. And that stuck with me. The trust has been broken over and over and over again with no apology, no shame, no remorse. To the extent the staff who doesn't even report to the supervisor was instructed to send out that information and disseminate that information. That should have went through Jim Marino, right? So she can't even stay in her lane. She can't be trusted to stay in her lane, let alone with spend. She's not trustworthy. We have a vote of no confidence for a reason. It exists. It didn't go away. We didn't nullify it.
So
Trustee Robinson.
well, there's a motion, so we should call it.
Okay,
Unless there's more discussion. I'm not trying to help.
Well,
so you're postponing the motion. Is there a second to
No,
postpone it?
no.
I had my hand up to make
Okay,
a comment.
trustee Page.
The lack, and I'm gonna try and say this as well as I can, the lack of a purchasing policy right now is actually impeding business here. How do we get around that? How do we get around that? Right? So the staff needs to be able to do their jobs, but we need to be able to trust that the supervisor isn't gonna go out and shop and charge up the credit card again, like we have been experiencing month after month after month. So how do we get around this?
What is being hindered? I mean, I know we need a purchasing policy. I'm not saying don't have.
Well, I think like the example of the Ford, that bus needing to be fixed, that she uses her own credit card to go do that, right?
Well-
So,
Yeah, yeah.
there's just, I don't know.
I'm not sure it's being impeded as much as you think it is,
Right.
because the other charges are, for the food pantry and for box cutters, and there we go again,
Mhm.
It needs to be done, but it needs to be as tight as what you wanted it to be.
How do we get there? What do
We
we
do
do?
this faster, so I'd be more than happy to sit with Jim and work through it, but I really think that there's a lot of extra feedback coming from, maybe the supervisor onto it, and changing it, and, so, we have to come up with something that we wanted, and I thought we were there. But now it's not there at all.
Are we meeting again next week? Do we have an actual meeting?
Personnel?
No,
When
he's supposed to be,
personnel would be committee, so, do we have an actual,
we're gonna talk about it
budget
later.
meeting.
I think they're gonna be I think there's a plan to have a meeting on the 22nd
okay,
to talk budget.
maybe we can get something, I don't know, worked out by then.
Should we all just?
I
That's
just
all
don't
it
wanna
on?
lose where
Yeah.
we've come. and go backwards.
I don't want to go backwards, no, and I'm with trustee Robinson, I want to get this, I want to keep going forward, I want to get this done, I want to, move on to the next thing.
Well, we have to re-earn trust.
Yeah, agreed, and trust is an issue. So, what to do?
Okay, is there a motion to postpone this?
No, there's a motion to approve it unless
Okay,
someone.
so is there a
changes that.
motion to withdraw the motion?
All right, I'll make a motion to withdraw approval.
I'll
Or you could
second.
amend it if you want.
Second, and then a roll call vote.
This is to withdraw the
Request.
motion.
Right,
So, okay, trustee, okay, so trustee Robinson,
yes.
trustee Page,
Yes.
trustee McGovern,
Yes.
trustee Geis,
Yes.
supervisor Hewitt.
Yes. Next is discussion and possible action to use Suburban Purchasing Cooperative. They do an invoice. There's a variety of different pieces involved. That would then, for example, most of the Home Depot expenses, a lot of Amazon expenses would then just be a part of this purchasing cooperative that is that will send a bill, that will invoice just as is promised. So is there any more discussion? You've
If during
seen,
the audit of expenditures, we had some bills for like supplies, like cleaning, whatever, you get invoiced, right?
We can get them usually from Home Depot or something like that. We have an account. So
and
we
it,
can-
it's a credit card though.
No.
It
Yeah.
is a credit card.
Well, it isn't.
It
It's one
is a
account,
credit
but
card.
each individual who purchases has their own card. So if Marty goes, he's got his own card, they should.
Same with Menard.
I thought you said that they invoice.
They do,
We don't pay any interest, we don't pay any taxes.
but it comes in, then the bill comes in, and that month it'll detail Sharon's purchases, Marty's purchases,
Oh,
and my purchases.
But it's a credit card statement,
But it,
It's a monthly bill, it's an
just like a credit card.
it's a
We had a,
business.
invoices are like credit cards.
we had a debit account and that was the problem, that it was a debit account, not a credit card account. Trustee Page,
We actually discussed this, the warehouse direct with the interim, township admin, and he explained it, Clerk Hollowitz and I met with him, and he explained everything literally will come through here and we will be invoiced. And there is, they shop around for the best prices. They know exactly what they're doing, so. It's
It
a
goes from-
positive thing.
Yeah, it
right?
goes from paper to trucks.
Everything, literally, yep,
And you don't have to do the bids on them too.
very,
So-
yeah, all the bidding is already done, so it's a very positive, that I would be pro
Make a
accepting it.
motion.
I'll make a motion to accept using the warehouse direct purchasing cooperative.
I'll second.
and then any more discussion? And a roll call vote?
Trustee Page,
Yes,
trustee McGovern.
Yes.
Trustee Geis.
Yeah.
Trustee, there was a yeah,
yes,
trustee Robinson.
Yes.
Supervisor Hewitt.
Yes. Okay, then is there a motion to postpone discussion and possible action on resolution number 2024?
I'll make that motion.
And a second,
Second.
trustee McGovern, and any other discussion?
Back me up a little bit. Which number are you on
It's,
now?
unfortunately, it's tacked at the end of number 13.
Right, yeah.
It says a resolution approving designated and authorized.
Okay, I apologize. on
No,
that
it
one.
isn't clear.
Who made the motion?
Trustee Page,
I
and
second it.
seconded by trustee McGovern.
To defer? Is that?
Postpone.
Postpone? Okay, great. I can do a roll call. Do you want me
Yes.
to? Trustee Page,
Yes,
trustee McGovern,
Yes.
trustee Geis.
Yes.
Trustee Robinson.
Yes,
Supervisor Hewitt.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, next we have discussion and possible action about the DuPage County ARPA grant. And we received $109,000 from DuPage County ARPA. As has been noted in this press release. So as you can see here, that's the amount, it's for what was approved from you all on at the December 30th board meeting. So on December 14th, when I was rushing to get that information in, and when you were here, it was because the deadline was at 4:30 to get the $108,000, 491 cents. So that was what I was trying to rush to do. Yes,
About what?
trustee guys.
December 13th.
So December 13th was when we went over the grant, and December 14th was when it was due at 4:30, and that's what I was rushing to
Well,
do.
I am so glad that you got that in. You probably should have told me not to come at 3 o'clock that day.
So next we have approval for what we had already received funds to do. And if you want. If you
Well-
wanna go through this at the next board meeting, seeing as how we're close on time, there was. We can go through and have Jim put together exactly what we're trying to finish doing, but it's. Freezers, it's refrigerators, it's making sure that we get some technological pieces approved. The curtain, you all have, I'm pretty sure, copies of the curtain door and volunteer software management betterment, volunteer software. So if you want to do this all at the next meeting on the 22nd, that's fine.
That's fine, but could we make sure we have an understanding of the betterment volunteer management? We have like 4 volunteers and we're gonna pay for a whole software program and maintain it.
We have a lot more than 4 volunteers in the food pantry.
Oh, I'm gonna,
I don't have that exact number, but we always have more than 4 volunteers.
Ruby, how many volunteers check in? 6 to 8. 6 to 8, thank you.
Very good, thank you.
There's quite a few more than that. There's sometimes some people come in 1 day a week. But there's quite a few volunteers that we have. They have really grown, and frankly, Betterment Volunteer Management Software does more than. It gives them updates, it gives,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Could we have that information next week?
sure.
Thank you. That's what I was asking.
Okay, is there a motion to postpone that to next week?
Yes, I have my hand up. I was gonna say I'll make a motion to defer the discussion of possible action. In the ARPA County, DuPage County ARPA grant until the next board meeting.
I'll second, you got the last one.
Okay, and then roll call vote.
Trustee Robinson?
Yes.
Trustee Page?
Yes.
Trustee Geist?
Yes.
Trustee McGovern?
Yes.
Supervisor Hewitt?
Yeah,
That's not the first grant you've received.
from ARPA.
Yeah.
We've received 4 from our 3, this is the 4th. So we received 2 for food, 1 for 25,000, 1 for 12,500, and another one for 36,000.
So this is the.
Yes. Okay, discussion number 19 is the proposed timeline for the 23, 24, 24, 25 budget.
Can I go back 1 second? Because I watched where they approved that, the county board meeting, and they said there's still money left. So there were discussions there about whether they're gonna open up the portal again. I guess that's where you submit your request. But they were gonna go through, and it seemed they had a pretty large amount. I don't think they described it. But there was some money left. So there'd be another opportunity.
And was it all subject to spended by the end of April?
Yes,
You're not sure?
that's
I
a
have-
federal requirement.
Because some of it was like interest. They said there was a lot of interest. I don't know if that would be separate to that requirement. I have no.
Okay,
Thank you.
but well done. Thank you for getting us township that money, that grant.
Yeah.
Okay. So next we go to the timeline for the budgets. And if we're looking at the timeline, the 22nd of February is the date that we're aiming for the next budget meeting, and it sounds like a special meeting as well. So the 22nd, does that work for everyone? Can we agree to a time?
I'll make it.
Give us a second.
We start at 6:30.
So is the 22nd at 6:30 sound amenable?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
And what time? I'm sorry.
6:30.
I assume you want the highways to follow citizen.
Yes. Okay, then the second meeting then would be the 26th. At least there may be meetings in between, I would expect or likely, but the meeting to approve it would be March 26th.
and that's provide 30 days notice.
To provide 30 days notice.
Spring break for everybody.
It is.
That's spring break for everybody.
So is that, I'm gonna be here. Is there anybody else that can't be here? I know trustee Robinson is gonna be out of town on the 27th until April, late April.
Yeah.
So it would be in the next fiscal year.
Vacation?
2 weeks.
What about,
So we wouldn't have a budget before the start of the next fiscal year.
Well,
Trustee
well,
Robinson,
and we have to amend the current fiscal year budget.
Yes.
Can we do the week before? Even the 21st or?
so if we were to back this up to February 21st,
March.
okay, so,
The week before spring break.
First.
Yeah, 20th would be better,
Wait,
because
wait,
kids
wait.
are.
it has to be 30 days.
But there's no requirement that you have to have the budget approved before it's started.
Oh, I won't be here then. The 20th.
Right, but last time we had issues of
I mean,
making,
This year.
exactly,
didn't,
I think you can
and-
change it after the fact.
Yeah, but we have to.
You did.
Current year.
I don't mean to butt in, but February only has 29 days.
right,
thank you.
Thank you, data queen.
Eight-
so the earliest we could go
18th through the 21st.
is,
Unless we change the first meeting date.
we need the account, we're off on the 19th because of President's Day. So we need the accountant to give us and Jim to be here to work through a few pieces, so the 20th is gonna be the earliest that you're gonna get the information to true up the 23, 24, and then to have them work on 24, 25. It's going to be a busy day on the 20th, even to get to the 22nd. So if we were to go, the earliest that it can happen
What about the 19th?
is going to February 19th,
March.
March 19th.
Well, no, if we back
No.
up the first meeting to February 19th, then we could meet earlier.
We can't meet on a holiday. It's a federal holiday,
Which day? Oh, it's
February
President's Day.
19th.
Presidents. Got it.
And the accountant is off. So, and Jim is off. So the 22nd is the earliest we could do it on this side. And then the next side, it would be the 23rd is the earliest, so we could do the 25th.
That would work great for me.
I'm here. I'm not.
And I'm expecting there's gonna be meetings in between.
I can do March 25th, yes.
So the 22nd and the 25th,
Okay, so
Yeah, I can zoom.
and you can, if it's on vacation, you can't. You just can't vote. You can have input, you just can't vote.
Okay,
Okay, so time for the 25th, 6:30.
Sure.
trustee guys, is Monday your day off or do you work on Mondays? I can't remember.
I work 6 days a week,
Oh, do you? Okay, I thought you had Mondays off. Okay.
but I make it work where I can.
Okay. I just don't know if we can do that one in the day rather than at night, but.
Monday was my day off.
Okay.
Budget,
This year.
a budget meeting, I think, is gonna go long, so to do that during the workday would be difficult.
For you,
Like
okay.
if we knew we could knock it out an hour, yes, I could do it, cause I could take my lunch or I could come early. but there's no way you're gonna knock it out in an hour.
All right, 6:30, I guess on the 25th as well.
Okay, so both budgets would be done on that day, and on both days. Okay, then, discussion number 20 is discussion and possible action about changing the time of starting of the township meetings. I thought I heard in the last meeting, as people were walking out, that somebody had proposed that we change the time, so if you all want to do that, that's fine, if you don't, that's fine. Do you all want to do that?
I would like to propose that we change our monthly meeting time to 6:30 PM on the second Wednesday of each month.
And I'll second that.
Okay, and then any other discussion?
I'll agree to it as long as there's no penalty if I can't make that happen. I have to zoom in because work comes first.
And work is an exception that is allowable. Okay, any other discussion? Okay, then all, roll call vote, please.
Trustee McGovern,
Yes.
trustee Page.
Yes.
Trustee Geis.
Yes.
Trustee Robinson.
Yes,
Supervisor Hewitt.
Yes. Number 21, discussion and possible action about the venue options and availability for the April 9th town hall.
I thought we were taking that off of that. I will have venues for you. My thought is to have it back either at the high school or the junior high. It worked well, right?
agreed.
I thought we fit here fine too.
In the, I will tell you, if we do it in the garage, it started to add up to almost the amount of money that it was at the,
You charge us? Just kidding.
no, not at
Yeah,
all,
rental
but
and
I think we
everything
got a
else.
lot of chairs. and-
Oh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was wonderful. The last town hall was
Let's-
wonderful.
So the junior high.
I'll
or the high
get,
school,
I'll
that's-
get the high school or the junior high, I'll get prices, because it did end up being a little bit more because I think, the hours were extended or something.
So something for us to also to think about is we do kind of make everything centric to Lisle and since we are a bigger township, it's okay to look at venues that are not right here too.
Yeah, absolutely, and.
To be
we
fair to
did-
people, our constituents further out. I
True.
mean, it's convenient for us, but.
Very true. We did do a little, if you have an idea, send it my way. Yeah, where you think might be a good idea. I think we kind of looked through other ones last year as well. So that's all I say. If you have a good idea, let me know. I will start working on it. It's time,
Well, we got Benedictine and North Central in our backyard.
correct?
We've got Naperville North. No, that's further west.
Right.
They're all much more expensive.
Yeah,
Even Downers with practice.
They're
No, it
all
wasn't in our-
like over $1,000.
No, it was west.
Trustee Robinson?
So motion to push this to the
do
next.
we need to do anything?
No, it was just a discussion.
Okay,
And just starting that conversation.
Okay.
So we're resolved not to do it again in the highway. Reports of elected officials, Highway Commissioner Young,
I have nothing tonight, thank you.
Assessor Trowbridge,
Yes, you inferred that, you were getting calls with, people that were upset with the assessor's office.
it was with the assessment increase.
Really? As I was getting some of the same calls and the people were upset at the fact that we were in contact with them and our telephone service would continue to go down on a pretty regular basis. They were very upset about the fact that our system doesn't work. Okay, this is a system that you insisted that we all adopt. This is a system that is a change from the system that we had with the previous supervisor, Mary Jo Mullen, and it worked flawlessly. We didn't have drop calls. We didn't have any problems. And yes, we had a lot of problems with our telephones this year during our appeal time, and I'm very upset about it. And our taxpayers are very upset about it. But when you turn around and you make the assumption, you twist it on the assessment increases and you try to come after me and make that public in this forum, I'm offended by it and I take exception to it. And I would ask you for an apology for it, except I know that I'm not going to give it. But if you'd like to know, this year, we had a record low number of appeals filed at the Board of Review. It hasn't been We haven't had this low in numbers in 4 quadrennials, that's 16 years. So I take exception to what you state. I would demand an apology, but I know better. Thank you.
Trustee Geist.
I don't have a, report to share of anything substance that I haven't already shared.
Trustee McGovern.
On Monday, trustee Geist and I hope to have coffee and invite constituents in at
Where's
9 a.m. at Pound Cake Bakery.
Yep.
Just as they meet your trustees, get to know the township. It could be simple discussions, or like,
Ask
what is
questions.
township? But
Yeah.
yeah, just a friendly, casual, question and answer, form that we would like to continue monthly after, keeping it on Mondays.
Always the Monday after a board meeting.
Following a
So
board
the
meeting.
next month it'll be trustee, Page and trustee Robinson. But we won't have the same 2 people. We're gonna rotate it just like we do the audit. So they get to meet with different people at different times.
And pick small businesses throughout the township to go and meet at.
Great, wonderful.
Mhm.
Fantastic.
So your invites
Excellent.
are already done, so we'll get the schedule will follow the audit schedule. But if you can't make it, then just let another trustee know.
Can it be on the Facebook page and can it be on the website? On the calendar?
Trustee Geist did a great piece that maybe we could.
Yeah.
forward and have it on.
I'll reach out to staff. You could reach out to, we could. reach
I
out
think
to
you have
staff.
both, right?
Yep.
I think I have the Friday one.
Who do I
I'm
send
not
it to,
sure.
Michelle?
You text it to me.
So send it to Michelle,
It's the first one, this coming Monday.
yeah, so
It
it's always
is.
gonna be the Monday after a board meeting. So what it does is, here's what happens, right? People come, they voice their concerns, they ask questions, but we can't answer them. And we're out of order when we do. I want to answer them so badly, I want to speak to it so badly, and I get in trouble because I'm not supposed to. I get it. So this is an opportunity for them to come, clarify what they hear, ask questions, make suggestions. But the intention is to be a productive, respectful, opportunity. I think I think it was something we wanted to do in the beginning, but we've just been so inundated with meetings. It was like, how do we fit one more thing in? But after last Thursday's forum, this became, we could no longer. not
What
do it.
time are you gonna have
It's from 9 to 10 a.m.
in the morning?
Yeah.
The big-
This week it'll be at Pound Cake Bakery. The next month it'll be at Sweet Spot Bakery. So we're gonna rotate at different small businesses so that we're giving small businesses throughout Lisle Township, our business at the same time.
Could you send me that as well? So I'll post it on my Facebook page.
Thank you.
For whatever that's worth.
I'm going through now.
Okay, trustee
Thank you.
Page,
Yes.
trustee Robinson.
Nope, nothing.
Okay, we did have internet problems the last month. Our phones are thoroughly connected to our internet. We have if you all want to review how we, can change to basically having, in the supervisor's office, we immediately have one of our, cell phones go to a hotspot and then we don't lose service. So that's how we did it in the supervisor's office. We have it so that the phones don't go down immediately. And I don't control how the internet works. It would be great if our providers were flawless. I've already gone through my report. Clerk Powlitz.
I just want to add that, if you think that they're complaining about their assessment, because the prices have gone up and, houses are selling at record highs, wait till they get their tax bills and they see that we've raised it. Supervisor Hewitt, you raised it 5%. There's gonna be an added on tax that they're gonna see on their bill as well. So I don't think it's gonna be the assessment as much as what their end tax bill will be. And you play a part in that.
Okay. Any old business?
I got a letter from the county. Saying they calculated the property tax distribution incorrectly. and they wanted $22,000. I think that's gonna change. It was odd.
And all the trustees were sent that letter as well.
Oh, okay. I didn't know.
And I think it was paid this round.
It was in the check run this month, wasn't it?
I hope not.
I think it was.
Never approved it.
I'm pretty sure,
Yeah, we think it was.
20 some odd $1,000, I'm pretty sure we checked off something in the check run on there.
We will look.
Diane, did you submit an invoice to pay the account?
Well, we didn't
Yes,
sign it yet,
You
though.
did?
yes.
Based on who's authority? That number's gonna change. I talked to, the treasurer's office, Paul Hines, and he said mine will change probably dramatically.
Okay, if you
So how do
wanna,
you have the authority to spend $22,000 of road district money? Excuse me for getting upset, but that's just, you overstepped your bounds.
So do we need to make a motion to remove that check out of the audit?
I'm looking for the number now.
Yeah,
We gotta get
DuPage
this right,
County
guys.
Treasurer, check number 50890 for 22,777.87. Does that
That's
sound
about
right?
right now.
is it charged to a 30 number?
No, 10,
Oh.
1101.
And I don't care.
No,
Yeah,
no,
but-
no, no,
No,
no,
no,
no,
I
no,
looked
no,
at
no,
it.
No,
And I'm looking at the
no,
wrong
no, yeah, yeah,
Okay.
look in the blue number, look at the blue number.
31,
That-
10,
that's my
12,
account.
that's you, okay. Oh, so this number is our bank.
Right.
Right.
Oh, gotcha. Gotcha. So we need to pull that.
Need to destroy this.
I'll make a motion to pull check number 50890, written on the 14th to DuPage County Treasurer spelled wrong, for 22,777.87.
is there a second?
Second.
Any other discussion?
You can issue an apology for overstepping your bounds.
I apologize for seeing the check from the county, sending it to everyone. And I assumed that, again, the county was charging us. So
Charging us, who's us?
charging the township. And I
Was it
understand
coming
that it
under the
was,
Township account?
It sounds like you, I'm thankful that she apologized. I think that's a huge
I don't think that.
step.
No, that was a, yeah,
Uh,
she's sorry that it came.
But I do think it makes, that should have been, you should have conferred with that.
I sent it to Ed. I sent it to every one of you, Ed.
Sending it to
Maybe.
someone is a passive way, having a conversation, engaging in dialogue.
It's-
Every expenditure from the road district is initialed by me. I told you several times, do not issue any checks unless approved by the road district. Is that approved by the road district? And where is the evidence that that was approved?
Okay, any other discussion?
Okay, that's it.
But do you
how do we move
understand
Take
it?
responsibility for your actions for once.
How do we?
I
move
just
forward?
apologized,
But how do we
sir.
move forward? What's the understanding as we move forward? So that we don't repeat it. What's the understanding as we move forward?
Supervisor, you do not issue a check. The road district accounts unless it's approved by somebody from the road district.
Do you understand that, Supervisor Hewitt?
Yes,
And you agree?
and thoroughly. Okay, is there any other? Or we didn't get a roll call vote on that.
Trustee Page,
Yes.
trustee Geist,
What am I voting on?
to pull the check.
Yes.
Trustee McGovern.
Yes.
Trustee Robinson.
Yes.
Supervisor Hewitt.
Yes.
I'm so glad you mentioned that.
Is there any other old business?
Well. I think. In light of. Everything that's gotten to this point, everything that's happened up until this point. Everything that's happened up until this point last Thursday, everything that's happened this evening. The untruth. The character defamation of me, I'm a business owner in this community. You don't think that when people think that I'm lying or trying to hurt seniors or hurt disabled people, that that doesn't hurt my business? Old business, I'm gonna stick with the vote of no confidence and ask for your resignation. And no, I'm not trying to take your spot, Diane, it doesn't work like that. I just think that you've proven consistently that this is just not the best place for you to be. And if you are having challenges, which are none of our business, they're none of our business. I think that you should take time to go fix the things that need to be fixed. And in addition to that, I would just say that, asking for your resignation again. I'm still looking for my apology. Again, I think it's unique that Ed could get one. I'm looking for my apology of saying I lied in last month's meeting about what happened in our exchange. And I'm looking for an apology for I want a public apology for how you character defamed me in front of all those people. And retract it, because I never said it. That's my old business,
Any other old business?
and it's very much not in line with what I asked for when you said those words under the proclamation in support of Black History Month.
Any other old business? New business? Then review of the minutes.
I'd like to pull out the personnel committee meetings, what? Oh. I'd like to pull out the personnel committee meeting.
Did I make mistakes?
No, I don't think we should be approving.
Okay.
I think you guys. approve it. Okay. So if someone wants to, I think there was a question that you had posed, Trustee Page, and that was about the January 5th meeting, that it had a 4-0.
Right.
Right, so what happened is Trustee Geist was on Zoom and Supervisor Hewitt turned off the video before the vote was taken.
Okay, gotcha, thank you.
Yes, good question. So I think, you could do, if you're all approving, approve everything minus the personnel, and then we go back and discuss the personnel. Unless you want something else pulled.
No, I'll make a motion, the consent agenda to approve all the minutes with the exception of the 24-1-9 Personnel Committee meeting.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? In a roll call vote?
Trustee Robinson?
Yep.
Trustee Page?
Yes.
Trustee McGovern?
Yes.
Trustee Geist? Supervisor Hewitt?
Yes. Okay, executive session.
No, we go back to the personnel committee one that I pulled for discussion. And I'm just discussing it. It was brought to my attention that it really shouldn't be approved by the board. It should be approved within the committee. Now, it could be in a consent agenda further down for information, which would be really good for us to have it, but it's not a consent agenda to,
Right.
to approve.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. And we've talked about possibly having a personnel committee
Yes.
to look at the
Yep.
personnel, the manual.
Yep.
Okay, so
Yeah.
we'll approve there.
Okay.
Thank you.
And thank you, Ed, for pointing that out.
Okay, and the executive session, we don't have that information, so.
No, that's not exactly true. Attorney Seckler does have the information And we spoke because there wasn't an agenda item to come back out of, executive session to vote on anything. There's really not a need to go into executive session regarding the executive session minutes. What he is asking for is, he suggested a couple things. He suggested first that I guess the way executive session is, minutes, that they should be read here. But if you wanted to do it like we've done it before, by just emailing it, so you could be there's quite a few of them. And then, in the next meeting, we could put it on the agenda properly to do that. So first, you want to approve the minutes, and then you could decide that we could get rid of the videos, or you could keep them closed, or whatever you want to do. And then he has a resolution that he just sent me, so I haven't read it, but generic. So I want to explain that to you to find out how you guys, are you okay with me emailing you the exact, okay, so you could have all month to read them.
Yep.
I still need, November 8th, just because you sent it, you gave it to me, but it was, like a bad format, it wouldn't open. Okay?
Okay. So then is there a motion to trustee Robinson?
Well, we did table an earlier discussion around, so I do think we have to go into executive section. Pursuant to section 2C1 of the Illinois Open Meetings Act to discuss the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of a specific employee.
Could you, I'm just asking, could you do that? It's not written here. Yes, you could do that if it's not right there. Sorry,
Can I? Because it said executive session, right?
Yeah.
But it's-
you can, you
Yeah.
can. It doesn't need to be.
Do you want me to send you the wording I used?
I'll grab what I can.
Okay,
It's 2C1.
right, 2C1.
Yeah.
I'll second. Okay, and roll, and any other discussion?
I was just gonna ask if, I've seen some other townships, and they try really, really hard not to go into executive session. I would see and ask if there's ways that we can,
Appreciate that, guys.
just a suggestion.
Okay.
It's, yeah, said from the person who's taken, it's a big, it's a bigger ordeal.
Thank you. Thanks, Sue. I think we have to take a roll.
And a roll call vote.
Trustee Robinson?
Yes.
Trustee Page?
Yes.
Trustee McGovern?
Yes.
Trustee Geis? Supervisor Hewitt?
I would actually, while there's still discussion, it might help to have the attorney here to talk about what you all want to talk about, I'm guessing.
At 11 o'clock at night? on
It's
Wednesday?
obviously
Yeah,
not gonna
no.
happen right now,
No,
but
no.
in the next meeting,
Ask him.
you all would have the attorney there, and you could have the executive session before the personnel committee meeting, for example.
That
Um,
was part of
I would
it.
like to talk about this now. It's been dragging on too long. This week is short.
Okay.
Let's get it over with.
then,
But
no.
here's
I
what we
don't
don't
think
want,
so.
every.
Wait,
board-
wait,
all
can
to
you
confirm with the
take,
attorney.
that was the last roll call
Right.
vote.
Well, okay,
Well,
there was discussion around, I'm gonna do it again if you don't mind. Trustee Robinson?
Yes.
Trustee Page?
Yes.
Trustee McGovern? Trustee Geis? Supervisor Hewitt?
No. Okay, then we're going into executive session. We will return. I'm gonna stop the recording and I'm gonna end this Zoom. And so the people on here will not be able to be here, and we'll come back to it when we return to this
I
exact
can
thing.
leave it.